Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. Besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Palo, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and we have a Verses Virtuoso joining us on the podcast today. If you're a lover of Wincest or J2 fanfic, then you're more than likely familiar with the author compo67. Posting on AO3 since 2013, Cal has graced the fandom with almost 300 stories. His work mainly encompasses verses that are still being added to a decade since they began. Another mind-blowing fact, they've written over 1,250,000 fanfic words that I could count on AO3. As a relatively new reader of Wincest and J2, I've loved exploring and delving into their imaginative and emotional verses. We can't wait to talk about their writing and their love of supernatural. So big thanks and welcome to the podcast, Cal.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, y'all.
It's awesome to get to talk to you. I was gushing a little bit.
Yeah.
Kasey can gush as well before we get started.
I should just get a paper bag and be like, fucking hell. I gotta just, how many times did you practice that? Because if I'd have tried to say Verses Virtuoso quickly.
I did that a couple of times. Just let me slow it down just a little bit.
So
or else
proud.
it's gonna be a lot. Yeah, my narration stuff does come in handy.
Look at that. You're such a pro. You're such a pro.
Oh,
I was literally like, wow, fucking hell. 300 stories, over 1 million words. Wow, we can only dream. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hit 2 million last year, I think.
Jesus. So that's literally only AO3 then, right? Or because that's what I could find on AO3, unless it's just that fandom. Maybe it's just supernatural. Because I was like tallying up the verses, I guess. Maybe I should have like looked at other stuff. I mean, maybe I just did the verses.
I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't blame
There's
you.
a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
In my stats on AO3, I can see it's exactly 2,139,961.
So I highly under.
There's about maybe like 30,000 words that I have not published. So
okay.
Oh, wow.
That is amazing.
I'm looking at my sub 200k word count now, going, oh my God, step it up.
No, I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah.
That's one of the questions
awesome.
that we've actually got for you.
Yeah, it is.
I think what we usually like to do with our guests is just, since it starts with supernatural for us, is when exactly you got into supernatural. When did that journey start?
It started for me about 2011 is when I started to watch the show. 2012 is when I started to actively read fic. And my very first fic, I don't remember what it was anymore, but I do remember it was Wincest.
Okay.
And I just read as much as I possibly could. And then in May 2013, as like a little birthday present to myself, I decided to write and post my first fic. So I'd say 2013 is when I started writing. And then when I got into it was 2011.
Okay. So there was a little bit of like, sort of like I guess like a break between when you started watching the show and then when you kind of got into the fanfic part of it. Were you curious about fanfic, or had it been just like a progression? Because for me, I know I didn't get into the fanfic part of it immediately either. It kind of took me a little while to sort of realize that there was a fandom and stuff like that. So did it click in your head that maybe this was a thing to look up, or is just kind of like, I guess, happen organically sort of a situation?
Yeah, I think it happened organically. I think because I started watching with a good friend of mine, and for maybe like the 6 months in 2011, we just focused on the TV show. And then in 2012, I think that's when I started to think like, is there something beyond just the show? And of course, I discovered fandom, and then quickly discovered things that were outside of LJ. Like I didn't know that there was AO3. So yeah.
I'm thinking too, how did you binge quite a few seasons together with your friend, or how did that come about?
I wouldn't say we binged it. I'd say like we watched maybe like 2 or 3 episodes every day for a while.
That's binging. That's
is that binging?
That's binging for me.
That's
I don't
to me like a small way to like a gradual way. Like I think of binging as like 6 or 7 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
That's hardcore binging, I think.
Okay.
To like three episodes a day for me is binging, but I'm married to someone who can watch like a season of a show in a day and think nothing of it. So I think I'm skewed with that, but like, don't you like? Yeah, that's
I wonder
that's
what
binging
the actual
for me.
definition too, because I feel like anything where if you can watch like more than one if you can watch like 2 in a row, like to me, I think that would maybe qualify as binging, because obviously like normally what everybody was used to was like it was a once a week thing or like, like that kind of thing. So I think in any way where that gets a sequential watch, I think I would call binging. But that's, you know what? I think everybody's got their own version of binging. So I think, yeah.
I think a baseline of if you watch more than 5 episodes in one go, I think that's probably a good baseline for binge watching a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you need did you take because in 2011 you would have had like 5, maybe 6 seasons to catch up on. So did you take like a sanity break at the end of each season? Or were you like, right, boom, let's go, next one, what happens?
I think I took a little bit of a break in between seasons to discuss with my friend and really like sink into it. I mean, those were just, to be honest, those were tough years for me in my personal life. So it was just refreshing to be able to bond with my friend over this TV show that I had heard of before in 2005. I was dating someone at the time who was a huge Supernatural fan, and I could not stand Supernatural at that point. So I know. So when
what was it about it that initially just?
So they're just too baby faced. Were you just really not a fan of the bangs?
I was not a fan of just another show featuring
pretty boys,
little jaw white men. I was like, I just can't do it. But then, then my friend told me, like, come around to it. I promise. Like, it's not what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it took me a while.
So when you sort of went back to it in 2011, were you like sort of immediately in from season 1, or did you still need a little bit of time to, kind of warm up to the show in general?
I was all in from the beginning. Yeah.
Valid. Easy Tiger is a hell of a line. Like, it's up there. It's up there.
The pilot just pulled me in.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I didn't come this was not on my radar bingo card for years. And like, it just became a thing that I don't know if like me in 2005 would have, gelled with this show,
right.
But, by 2019, it kind of like, again, it's kind of like, well, it's getting ready to end. And I heard about it. I'm like, okay, maybe now I should try to start to watch it because there's 15 seasons. There'll be 15 seasons to go through. So I think that too was like a thing for me.
Do you want me to make you sad, Sandra? Do you want to be sad?
Is this going to be about the amount of years it's been? Is that what we're talking about? What are we doing?
Maybe. It's tangentially related to that.
The the anniversary I know just happened yesterday.
No. I'm going balls in. I was in high school when Supernatural started.
Yeah, and I was not. Thank you.
Yeah, so was I. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Not even. I wasn't even close to being done with high school when Supernatural started. I had 2 more years of high school left.
I was 32.
Started.
I was 32, so I was already way past that. At least I thought, the demographic for it. But lo and behold, however many years later, that wasn't the case.
Pretty boys transcend generations.
They do.
They really do.
At the right time. At the right time, they do. Yes, I totally, I believe that.
Hey, you should be grateful. 2005, Kasey would have been so much meaner about Dean. I would have had no fucking time for that haircut.
I was mean about Dean when I first started watching it too. It's weird, right? Like it's a weird thing. It's just how they grow on you, like, as characters. Like that's the thing that I really found that I don't think you could have gotten if the show had only been on for a few seasons. Like I feel like you really kind of have that growth with them that for us late bloomers, it takes a while to warm up to certain characters. And again, like I know some people right away were just immediately in love with their Blurbos, but Yeah, it took a while for me to figure that out, and I'm glad I did.
It did not take me a while.
I know it didn't. Do you want to ask Cal the question?
this is a good. I was convinced this was the question you changed. I was convinced that this said Kasey's question, and then I looked again and it said Sam and Dean.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cal, gun to your head, but not violently. But if you had to choose, on pain of death.
Oh no! I know.
Are you a Sam Blobbo or a Dean Blobbo?
I am a Sam Blobbo.
Oh, yay! Yeah. Kasey is so happy.
I'm so fucking happy, y'all. Aww. Look, my thingy is getting more balanced. It's getting more balanced.
Trying to get more Sam Blorbos on. See, we're doing the thing. We must be attracting.
There's only 5 between them now.
Okay,
there's only
that's
5.
Good.
That's awesome. Sandra's now going to do nothing but book Dean Blobbo people.
I do have some I already know are in the schedule. Yeah, sorry. I know that's happening.
Why would you do this to me? Do you realize how heavy this moose is?
I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not.
Follow-up question to that. Were you in for Sam from the beginning, or did he grow on you as he grew into his jawline? Where you at with that?
So in the beginning, I was a total Dean stan, just because I thought he was, like he says, adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, and this is embarrassing given how much I've written about Sam, but I did not like Sam in the beginning. I thought he was just too dark, depressed, and just, I just didn't understand his character.
I was going to offer you to hold a part of the moose, but you don't get to now. Me and my moose are going to be over here knocking.
No, there's growth. You got to listen to the rest of it, Kasey.
No, I don't. It's like when people come on and they go, "It's Dean, but," and then they start waxing lyrical about all the things they love about Sam. And I'm like, it's too late. It's too late. You've committed to it now.
No, it's not.
For you. No,
it's not.
I get that. The early seasons of Sam, it's a different Sam to the one we get in later seasons. And I get that. And if you were personally going through some shit as well, I get that.
Yeah, I think, Dean was a very comforting character to me. I mean, who wouldn't like somebody to watch over you, protect you, and pull you out, literally pull you out of fire, right?
Yeah.
I think it took me a while to warm up to Sam, and I'm very grateful for that, because if you love Dean, then you automatically love Sam. So I think it was just meant to happen that I turned more to Sam and related to him more as the seasons went on.
Was there a turning point season? Was there an aha moment for you that you can remember, or did it
why was it episode 3 of season 6, the third month?
Oh my gosh, I used to remember episode names and the chronology of them, and now they've all escaped me.
Okay,
it's the one with half naked Sam, soulless Sam working out. But he's doing the pull-ups. And then he just saunters around with his nearly cock and his jeans. And it's the best thing that's ever fucking happened to anybody on TV ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think my turning point was Bad Day at Black Rock.
Ah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just so funny, and so I just love that I lost my shoe. So, yeah.
That was full puppy dog moment right there.
I know, right? I think the puppy dog was just,
yeah. He was just so dejected and so sad and so big and lumbering and just was helpless. And just I lost my shoe. I was just he was just so resigned to it. And he's well, I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah, it was a very baby brother episode.
Yeah.
I have a little a Kasey behind the scenes fact for that one. That is, Jared said it was actually kind of uncomfortable to film that scene because they'd put a hook on the underside of that shoe, so he could it would catch on the grate and pull off his foot. So, but he still had to walk around in it, and he was it was weird. I was walking funny. It kind of hurt.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's so cool.
My favorite episodes, more my least favorite episodes, tend to have a hell of a lot to do with the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And what the actors went through filming than anything to do with the episode. But I just, it was they put this plate on the bottom of my shoe. It's kind of uncomfortable.
I feel like this should be a new question now once we know we've got a Sam person.
Is it the question that I'm thinking of, which is what do you think about Mystery Spot?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so as a Sam person, is Sam being your Blorbo, Cal, do you have any strong feelings either way on Mystery Spot as an episode?
I think it's one of the more creative episodes in this like time frame, like in the earlier seasons. So, I think it was just the perfect kind of torture for Sam. I think that having Dean die over and over again, that was just really fucking with his mind. Mm-hmm. So I just see that episode as these moments of gratitude that he has also in these big moments of panic and paranoia about what's going to happen next. So yeah, I think that's what I see Sam as like going through in that episode. And I really liked it. I really liked the sense of just grief, but also frustration that Sam had.
That's interesting. Sandra, I'm starting to think I might be the weirdo with Mystery Spot. I think I might be the problem. I think it's me.
Oh no.
I don't think so, because like you've said too, it has a very distinct switch and turn to it that for somebody, I think other people have talked to about how, Supernatural can really lean into the Black comedy. I've heard that from a few people too. And it's a very dark comedy, in the beginning. But, for me, for somebody who loves Dean, I get a kick out of him dying all those different ways. It's hilarious. It's very like Looney Tunes, and considering they did a Looney Tunes episode later, this was even better, or Groundhog Day, but it was all this, like you said, creativity and how they managed to turn it into something so very dark and bleak in like the last third, I think, of it is when it really does that shift where you see what it does to Sam.
Right.
And has a very different turn. And then my thing is, I don't think he ever says anything to Dean about it. Like, does he ever, like, I know Dean knows something, but I don't think he knows the time, that he had to deal without him, and that kind of thing. And that's what kind of like sticks with me after is the wondering, how does somebody deal with that? Because they've gone through a lot of stuff and they don't always talk to each other about the suffering that they go through without the other person, like that kind of thing. That's always been a question in my mind.
For that episode, I really need to go. Like, if I'm going to have such strong opinions on
you
this
need
episode,
to look at it again. Yeah.
I really need it fresh in my mind. No. I don't think the trickster brings Dean back to life after those 6 months. I think he sends Sam back in time those 6 months. I don't think they happen. Like I think it's like a timeline offshoot that gets erased. I don't think.
See, to me, I would think Sam has that Sam has that time. So you're saying he doesn't have the time? That time's been wiped away?
Let me see if
I don't get that. I don't get that feeling from the very ending. The way that kind of Sam leaves that unsaid. I don't know. That's my take is he's lived that and he's experienced that, and it isn't.
No, I think he just gets sent back those 6 months, and it's erased from his memory.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is interesting. Is it kind of like a vein of like It's a Terrible Life?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Let me. I got it up on the wiki. Let me have a look.
I never would have come up with that thought. I just thought he just lives with it and he deals with it.
So it says he
so we may all be wrong, Kasey, and you're the only one that's right about this then.
No, I don't think I am. It's a fake reality. That's what it says. The trickster comes and he's like, this, we're gonna be like fam, and Sam's like, no, please. And it says the trickster comments that it's like talking to a brick wall. He then snaps his fingers and ends the fake reality.
So Sam was living in. He still lived it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wakes up in the moment, wakes up back in the motel room with Back in Time playing on the radio. Dean is there and a shaken Sam gets up and gives Dean a huge hug. Mm-hmm. They leave together. Sam is somber, deeply affected by his experience. He sees the unmade bed and realizes that life without Dean will still happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's kind of that's vague, because that could still be him. Like, he could be shook up from all the deaths. Like, this could be the first Wednesday for him again.
Yeah,
we don't know if he's shook up because of that 6 months. That's it. I got to watch that episode again.
Yeah,
I got so many strong feelings. I gotta.
Well, this is interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see what other people think about it too. Because now I'm curious, because I would have assumed that he not only had all of that time, with the loop, but then had the time of not having Dean. So if you're thinking fake reality, they could have been this sort of like mismatch or like, truncated version of maybe those 6 months or whatever. But I still feel like he would have felt some residue of that time in my brain anyway. I don't think it would have just been like, what
it says in the trivia, somewhat similarly to the case of the alternate future. In the end, it is unknown whether the time loop and the post-loop alternate timeline where Dean stays dead are real or an elaborate illusion. Worth noting is that the alternate timeline lasts for at least 6 months and Dean remains dead, whereas in the main timeline, Dean was resurrected after only 4 months. So yeah, it's ambiguous, and there's no point asking Jared and Jensen because they won't fucking remember.
No.
It was far too long ago. They won't remember.
Oh.
I am choosing to interpret that Sam is just sent back and his memories are removed of that.
Okay.
That's what I'm choosing to interpret.
Fair.
That's a good take.
Fair.
Yeah.
All that to say, as we go on our mystery spot tangent, which feels like it needs to be a thing every time we have somebody
I feel like
on
that
now.
needs. I need to put that in the. That needs to go in the list.
Again, it sounds like Sam kind of like grew on you. Are there other favorite characters from the show that you have that you can remember? So you said it's been a while, but like, are there characters that stick out to you from the show that you really loved?
Definitely Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
I found him to be a real comforting presence. I mean, still rough in, how he approaches Sam and Dean, but I think he had, a lot of affection towards them.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have barely written about Bobby. I should try to include him in more things, but
I want to try to add him into something soon too. I've got an idea, but yeah, I'm working on something with him, but I love him as a character in terms of comfort. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Bobby sticks out to me. I really liked Charlie in the beginning. I don't really like her towards the end of her life.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought there was so much potential there. And then, she was like a little sister that, to them. And then I just don't like how they killed her off.
Oh, yeah. Well, nobody likes that. Yeah. That's horrible.
I will die mad about that. There was no need for that. She was not a potential love interest. That was just bury her gaze, and I will die mad about it.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't understand why you had to cut her out when she was one of the most diverse characters on that show. So Kevin is one of my favorites. I enjoy writing about Kevin in my Chicago verse.
Okay. I read a part of that recently. Yes. It's been my binge. I've been going through it. I saw the part about Kevin. Yes. Yeah.
So I really like his experience with meeting the Winchester brothers and how his life just totally got upended by being a prophet.
Yeah.
So
they just don't have good people don't have good experience to deal with them. Unfortunately, most of the time it just doesn't end well for anyone. Yeah. Kevin's another one that I'm very upset about in terms of how he went out and then how he was kind of like sort of treated and forgotten for a while and then just came back, Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think those, Kevin and Charlie are those two characters that I just think the show just did them wrong. And I can't forgive that.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
I get that. Did you finish the show? Did you stay with it once you caught up? Or did you like quit? Because we spoke to people recently that were like, no, we noped out at like 7. Which is valid.
I think I watched consistently from I watched consistently every single week. I was parked in front of my TV up until season 10. Somewhere in season 10, I just tapped out.
Okay.
Watching every single week. But from 10 to 15, I only have memory of maybe like 10 episodes. So I have not been the most faithful viewer, but I certainly did see a good chunk of 15.
Okay. Did you want to sort of like see how it was going to end? Was that like your thing too? Yeah. Yeah, so you could be upset. I'm just guessing. I'm sorry. I know most people have very, very very passionate views about the ending. So I didn't know if you wanted to share, and you don't have to go into detail, if like you were underwhelmed by it, okay with it, kind of like, well, this is probably the best they were going to do.
Do you feel like it's weird that they chose to only make 19 episodes in season 50? Isn't that a weird number?
It is a weird number.
Episodes to make. Like, you'd think they'd make it like a multiple of 5 or like a round number, like a multiple of 5. Yeah, 5 or 0. I just think 19's weird. This is how I cope. This is my fucking copium. 20 didn't happen.
I have, I wanted to tune in to see how they handled the ending, because I also couldn't believe that they were going to end the show. And now, years after it's ended, I'm like, man, we really had a good thing going. And then on the opposite side, I'm like, yeah, it was time to end it.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I was watching the show, I was chatting with a friend online so that we could watch it together, in a sense. And we were both all caps all evening, just screaming at each other. And when, the barn scene happens, I did not like it at first. I was screaming at my friend, just being like, how could you? And then also, how could you make it so obvious that was going to happen? What happened to more subtlety? And I don't know. I just thought it felt wrong to me. And then it just occupied a space in my brain that would not let go as I started to really break it down. And then in the end, after processing for a long time, not just that day or the week after, but I came to really like the ending.
Okay. Okay. That's good. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I think
went through a lot of feels.
I think there are parts of it that are undeniable in terms of how they affect you in very gut reactions. But yeah, it's just such a roller coaster of emotions. Yeah. And kind of just pulls the, pulls the tablecloth off the, table, it just upends everything and gives you the sense that, things are going to be okay. They're going to get there happy. And then, and it's just oh no. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot to, Kasey, I think's only watched it.
I've only watched it once.
When I do my rewatches, I tend to watch it, and I think I don't know if I'm numbing myself to it each time, or I'm just trying to really see if I can pull something out of it that I can reconcile with. But the barn scene it just kills me every time. Every time I watch it.
My issues with it are far more to do with the decisions the studio made to go back that quickly during COVID. And I feel like the actors, the cast, the crew were robbed of the experience they should have had of closing out a show that momentous. And that's a lot more of my issues. It's that I see what it could have been, and I'm angry that they didn't wait.
Yeah.
The barn, I cried for so long.
Yeah.
Same.
My husband, he was watching it with me because we watched 15. We had to wait until the following day to get it on the CW app because obviously it didn't air over here at the same time. So we were just 12 hours behind, but we watched it religiously every week. And I cried for the whole afternoon. I was just wandering around the house going, it wasn't supposed to be like this. Fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
But with reflection now, I can see the beauty in it, and I can put aside my feelings about Dean being denied the life he deserved and see the moment for Jared and Jensen saying goodbye. And there's, I can see the love in that, but I will forever be mad that they were all, denied the chance to say goodbye properly because the studio didn't want to wait, It should have been, the Roadhouse should have been there, and it should have been more than what it was. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe if they had had more time and a bigger budget, there also wouldn't have been that Party City wig.
Oh, and also, right? Also, since we got into this, I'm going to die mad about that fucking bridge scene because that should have been after the goddamn credits. You do not end a TV show by zooming out for the crew. Yeah. Put the crew in, it should have been, hey, Sammy, Snugs, looking out over the bridge, real fucking cute, close in on Sam and Dean, fade to black, like done, the episode's over. And then fucking throw the credits over all the crew on the scene. Show me all the people that made it happen. That's beautiful. Give me that beautiful drone shot. But not while it's still canonically in the show. Who the fuck are all these people? Who are all these people? Yeah, no, you're mad about that forever.
There were a lot of, I think too, thinking about it more, COVID did such like you said, robbed people of stuff too. And I think everybody was just like, well, no, we thought this was going to end at this time. And I think a lot of it too was, with other projects, it's like they needed to put the closing chapter on it. And I think whether or not it was never going to be the way I think they had envisioned. It's always interesting to think about what they really would have done. And would it really have been any better? Would it have been any better if COVID hadn't been a thing? And I don't know if it would have, I think we still might have gotten something that was very underwhelming. I think for a fandom that's been around so long.
Take this from me.
No. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of, I'm really thinking about it in terms of, Jared was getting ready to start a show. Jensen was getting ready for other projects. Like everybody was trying to just get out of this COVID cycle of, we can't get back to work to do the things that we want to do and trying to make it happen. And I don't think we would have been happy no matter what, because I think there were already decisions that had been made that even if there had been more people there, I don't know if it would have gone down easier because there still would have been the barn scene. I don't see how that, it's still,
I think if it had just been the barn scene, we probably, like those of us that struggle with the ending, we could have reconciled that in maybe we still would have been mad, but I think we could have reconciled that. But it's that, and then it's all the people that were denied a goodbye that
I got it.
I think one of the things that I really enjoy about this particular ending is that when you do go back and see either older episodes or just even like GIFs of the first few seasons, you have such a bigger appreciation of Dean, knowing that he's going to be the first to die in the end. It just makes me appreciate Dean and the moments that the brothers have, like, so much more.
Yeah. I love that you still get little bit of his uncertainty. I love that even at the very end, we still got a piece that we didn't know of Dean. Like in that moment when he said, I was outside your window. I didn't know if you were going to tell me to get lost. And it's just like, I know, I'm sorry, but it does. It just brings more out of like, just my baby. I love you. I'm so sad that you're having to go through this,
Yeah. All out full circle. Yeah. No, I will. I mean, I've got to say, if COVID hadn't been a thing, we could have had to deal with John Winchester in heaven, and I don't know how I would have coped with that. That would have been a whole other suite of issues.
Cal, what do you think? We are proponents of.
Are we going to have to put this in as well? Tell us how you feel about John.
No, not about John, but about Bobby. Bobby being the one to greet Dean,
meet Dean in heaven.
How did you feel about that?
I thought it was. Now I'm like, well, what would have happened if it had been John? But no, I think it was a good decision to have Bobby be the person to greet him in heaven. Just because he was really the one to guide them throughout most of their adult lives. And I don't know, I hadn't thought of that.
Well, I'm just glad that you were like, yes. I'm just happy about that. Bobby is my like I love the man. He's
100% Bobby. Bobby was the only one.
Bobby.
But also Sandra, I feel like maybe we baited and switched a little bit here. We were like, hey, come talk to us about your work and stuff.
We
and we're like hardcore grilling and now like what do you think about the ending? What do you think about the barn scene? Are you a John Winchester sympathizer?
These are our tangents, Cal. We apologize, but that's how we go. We appreciate you. We appreciate you answering our questions. So I didn't know if we wanted to do one more show question, and just is there anything canonically? Because I mean, we're going to get into what you love to write and read, but like, is there any like a pairing or a ship like on the show that you maybe like would have wanted to see occur with like maybe any of the like supporting characters? Anything that you don't have to. It's just a question that we have in there. Like, are there any pairings or ships you adore outside of? I mean, we're assuming Wincest and Jay. Wincest is the thing, but I could be wrong. But like any pairings or ships like outside of that are kind of like more show that could have happened show wise, situationally.
Yeah, I think I really wanted to see Meg Steele.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite outside of Wincest pairings, just because I thought it was very original in the sense where you would have a demon and an angel kind of have this spark of chemistry and not necessarily work together, but at least like be together. I really like the show Good Omens. So it gives me, looking back on Meg Steele, it gives me, Good Omen vibes about like these two trying to prevent the world from ending.
Yeah. Very cool.
Oh, I maintain, whatever I think about Misha Collins, I maintain he was a fabulous Castiel. I couldn't see anyone else playing Castiel in Supernatural. But now I really do want to see Michael Sheen as Castiel. That would have been real good. But I want it to be like, God, I cannot pronounce the name of his character in Good Omens, but I want it to be like, book-loving, cardigan-wearing Castiel who's secretly a badass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I love characters like that.
Do you kind of subscribe to like Sam Rowena? Like, did you see any of that in the show?
I see where people come from it. Like, I get I get where they see it, but I personally don't. But that's also just because I can't see Sam with anybody else but Dean.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of answers my follow-up question to that, which is like I personally think Sam and Rowena were like hardcore fucking behind the library shelves. They didn't like each other, but they were just like, we should really have hate sex about this.
Yeah, hate fucking is a thing.
But also, like my het ships, I'm also like a Wincest shipper, but my het ships are like Dean and Donna and Sam and Jodie, because I just think Sam needs just like a little tiny woman to dom the fuck out of him. And I think Jodie is just perfect.
And I love Dean and Donna too together. I just think they're just they would be the cutest. They would just be the cutest together. I just think that would be so fun. They would balance each other out and have just fun. I think it would just be a needed reprieve from a lot of the stuff that was going on.
They would eat donuts and ride around in her truck and they would have the best time. Yeah, meanwhile, Jodie is standing there in more leather than anything else with a fucking riding crop and the biggest strap on you've ever seen, and Sam is living his best life. 100%. 100%.
Oh, God.
Die on this hill. And it's pretty much canonically like real world accurate, because have you seen Jared's wife? He likes his ladies small and fiery.
Teeny tiny.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, all valid. All valid, Kasey.
All valid. Yeah, all valid. But I really love the fact that you're like, I don't see Sam with anybody.
No, can't.
Brother on nothing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I will die on this hill.
Oh, then I gotta ask, when did the Wincest radar thingy go up, antennae, for you when you were watching? Did that happen right away, or was that also sort of like a, the way these guys are with each other, I wonder, situation?
Trying to think back. My friend that I was watching with in the beginning, he was a diehard Destiel person.
Okay.
And I just couldn't stand that. So I think I saw something probably around season 3.
Okay.
Where I was just like, oh yeah, these two. It has to be these two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it was a little gradual, but especially after season 4, I dug my heels in and I was like, no, this is it for me.
Can I say I'm seeing a trend, the more people that I talk to that are Wincest shippers?
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing, and Kasey, I think this applies to you as well.
Probably.
They really do nope out of watching the show after a certain point. I cannot get Kasey for the life of me to get past season 7, 8. And I'm wondering if it's because there is this, like, no, I don't see, like, what I want to see or what I believe isn't really coming through. I could be totally off. I just feel like this is a thing I'm noticing when I'm talking to more people who are Wincest shippers as we do this podcast. Does anybody think I'm off on that, or is there maybe something there to it?
I don't think you're off. I hadn't considered it.
Because we just had and compo67. I don't know, Cal, if you are aware of the Freak Camp was a fanfic that has been around for a while, and the authors turned it into a novel. And
oh, cool!
They had said, right, both of them, that like it was like season 7 or 8 is when they dipped out. But one of the authors was just like, as soon as I saw Cass, I immediately felt this was going to change the dynamic of the show. Did you have that much of a reaction to it? Like, did you know about Destiel since you had the friend who then got you into the show, or did you guys learn about this stuff together as you watched?
He had watched the show from the beginning.
Okay.
So by the time I jumped in season 5 or 6, he was already a Destiel shipper.
Gotcha. It's just interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I love hearing about how, like, people got into the show and what hooked them and what repelled them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was already into Destiel, and I could tell, like, I think there's always this sign of a new important character being introduced. And I could tell that with Destiel, or with
Cass, yeah.
Destiel. So I was like, this is going to be a turning point for the show. And yeah, it was kind of obvious to me that Cass was going to be a big part and maybe change the dynamic.
Just interesting.
By his introduction.
Yeah. It's just interesting. The more, like, I'm just, I don't know, noticing.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, because when I think about why I'm stuck again on 7, and it's because I know what's coming, and I know that it's heavy, and I don't know if that's why. But now you got me thinking about it. If I was going to quit because of the Wincest vibes, I would have quit at 5, and I would have quit because of Dean. Because God damn it, he spent, like, not just him, but like him, Bobby, Cass, everybody spends all of 5 telling Sam that he's not strong enough, he's weak, he's going to fail. God bless that man, because I would have burned the fucking world down and I would have danced on the ashes. For real. And he sees it all the way through. But, like, if it was from that, it would have been when Dean, kind of turned his back on Sam in 5 and was like, "No, you can't do this."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I know. Maybe it's because I know 8 is coming, and I know Dean's going to stand in that fucking church on that holy consecrated ground and lie through his back teeth, and Sam's going to be like, "Yeah, all right, seems fine." Maybe that's what it is.
Well, there's also season 8 hair. I mean, you've got to stick around for season 8 hair. That's important.
Yeah, season 8 hair is the best hair.
Yes. I'm doing a fucking happy dance. Yes. Fuck yes. Yes.
All right. I'm good. I'm good with show stuff. We're going to move on now. I got my question. I got my question answered. So, Cal, when did your love of fan fiction actually start? Was it with Supernatural or was it prior?
It was prior. I grew up with LiveJournal, and I think the first fandom that I really fell in love with was, and I'm a little, like, cringe to say it, but it was Harry Potter.
Yay! Oh my god, we could be twins. I also started my fanfic journey with Harry Potter, and we look back on it now and go, "Oh, that was it."
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's less to do with the medium and more to do with
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Like as a trans person, I can't bring myself to openly admit that was my first fandom, but
that's
it
so
was
sad to me though, because I know there's special memories that are, like when you're younger, and to always have something fuck shit up, it pisses me off. It does, it just makes me mad.
And that right there is why I will die on the hill of not separating the art from the artist, because so many people around this topic are like, oh, but you don't got to bring her into it. You don't got to and I'm like, I fucking do, because she tainted all of it. Yeah. Because there are people like, I'm a trans person, you're a trans person. We are now people that go, we can't admit, like, we can't say out loud in public that we enjoyed this because it's been so fucking tainted by her now.
Yeah.
No, but yes, no. I also started there. You are among friends. I also started there.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, Harry Potter, I grew up with it. I went to like midnight releases for the books, and those were good memories. I think it's so important. I think it really got me into world building of my own. Then for a little while, I was part of the Lord of the Rings fandom.
Yes! This is getting creepy now. This is getting creepy. If you start telling me that your name is Edward Norton, we're like, this is getting creepy now. Yes, Lord of the Rings.
I shipped Aragorn and Legolas. So I don't know if you do. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. And then I think Airless is how I got into Mpreg, which was very new to me. And I was happy to see it continue in Supernatural fandom.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we just did an Omegaverse.
I was just thinking that. I felt
we did an Omegaverse tags and tropes episode we recorded right before you, and we were just like breaking down all the stats and like knowing that Supernatural was responsible for like the first Omegaverse fic, and how it's just really been taken over by all of these different fandoms and stuff. So even though it started it, there's it's only a small percentage of like overall what's out there now, and it's very interesting that world.
Less than 10,000 of the like alpha beta like the tag alpha beta omega dynamics, less than 10,000 of that is in the Supernatural fandom, and that fucking blew me away because there's like 200,000
wow
fics out there with that tag, but less than 10.
Wow.
And you'd fucking you'd think it would be so much more, wouldn't you? Like,
I would.
Like the fandom, the J, like RPF, they invented it. We originated the language. They're just like, fucking y'all have it. Yeah. I could find me some Aragon Legolas Mpreg now. Something to do with that.
One of the questions in terms of writing was just, Cal, did you have interest in writing anything like original prior to fanfic, or did that kind of just like start your like, oh, I can create these worlds, I can make these stories? Like, was it really all of your writing started with Harry Potter?
No, actually, I had been, I want to say like since I can't remember what grade it was, but probably the 4th or 5th grade, I had a teacher who, one of our assignments, okay, let me backtrack. Do you know those blank books that you can buy? They're just bound, but blank books that you give to like kids to fill out.
Yeah.
So I had a teacher pass those out as an assignment, and she really liked what I had written. So she gave me an extra book and asked me to please write poems. And that was just so formative. I mean, it was just, I don't know where I would be had she not done that.
What grade was this?
Like 4th or 5th, I think.
Oh, okay.
What age is that? So I can convert
like 9, 10, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I think that would be around year 4, year 5 in the UK.
Yeah.
It's not actually that different when you get down to ages. It's just like y'all confuse the high school years, and we're like, we don't know what a sophomore is. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But that's so. Yeah, she's just like, they just saw something in terms of your writing and just gave you like permission to just keep doing it and give you ideas and stuff? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then
That's awesome.
Middle school, I started actually writing my own short stories. And again, I had a teacher in, I think, the 8th grade who was my biggest supporter. And she just also made an impact on me. I was in a gifted program in junior high, and there were such high standards to think with like STEM-based things. But this teacher really pulled me aside and let me be very creative. She introduced me to Shakespeare and Shakespeare and Dave Barry. Two more opposites. But yeah, so that, I started doing some like, actual writing in junior high.
Did that carry over into like, did you continue your education outside of high school and go on to pursue something writing related, or did that just, stay in that sort of like creative world for you? How did that affect you going forward?
Oh boy. It had this huge effect on me. From the start of high school, I was like, I have to major in English. I have to keep writing. So that's what I did. I went to community college for the first year and a half, did my gen eds there, and then moved on to university and graduated with a BA in English. So I knew from an early age that like, okay, I have to major in this and get a degree in this. And both my minors were women and gender studies and creative writing. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
that's great. I just hearing more about like, talking about world building and stuff like that. I mean, I guess because when I got into all of your stuff, I was like, there's verses, like there's so many works, but they tend to be like part of these verses. And I was just like, there's a thing here. There's a reason behind this.
That's a theme.
And I know as somebody who, and I think Kasey could talk about this as well. We do have a couple like, verses that like, I think we've written or started and stopped and things like that. And I feel there's a sort of, how do you say it? There's not necessarily, you don't intend to make this big thing, or at least I know that wasn't really my intention. And I'm wondering,
I'm very attacked right now. It was just supposed to be porn.
So I'm wondering if was kind of your initial dip when you started writing Supernatural. Was it just, I've got this little story in mind and I'll see what happens with it, but that you weren't thinking when you started, I'm going to end up with this verse thing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
How did that start?
Oh my gosh. I think readers who've been with me from day one can attest to my ability to say, okay, this is a one shot, and then it's a verse before I know it. Like I had only intended the Chicago verse to be, I think, 5 installments.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it kept going. I still had more things to write in it. So the same thing with Punzelverse. And I think I kept the author's comments from 2013 that, this is just a one shot. And, and then it became an actual fic after that.
I know that, again, like a couple that I'm trying to get this one done. It will eventually get done. I feel like there's going to be an end to this one series I'm doing right now. But I also had this other series that was like my first one that I wrote, the original female character. And I love the freedom of finding time to go back whenever I want. It could be a couple months later. It could be a year later. It could be a couple years later. I know that they all have defined things I want to say about that moment in time, but it gives me a freedom to go back in and just do a check-in with the characters. Yeah. And is that kind of how you sort of came to realize this is what I like to do situation with the verses? Because you have about, is it like 8 or 9 verses, or 7 or 8 that are like Supernatural or J2 related? Am I off on that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Wait, no, I have it open. Don't worry.
Okay.
I have it open.
Oh, you have it open.
7.
Okay, good.
Okay,
7 series is on AO3.
Wow.
Because they've started at different like points in time too. And I think I saw one because Palo Alto was my first one that I read, finished.
Oh, no.
And I feel like there was a point in time where like you had an ending, but then you came back to them. And I thought it was great. I love that one. I also love the Chicago. I've gotten like 10 into the Chicago verse. I'm loving what you're doing with that. But
great.
I just, I wonder, like, there's so much freedom to just give yourself. Do you give yourself the freedom, or do you beat yourself over the head and go, damn it, why aren't you going back to this? Or do you just let them be and have them come to you when they're ready to tell you a story?
Yeah, that last one. I just let it be. I mean, but like,
how do you do that?
I think part of it is I love to daydream, and at any given moment, I'm thinking about one of my verses. I'm working on photo op right now, so that's been on my mind. But I've also been thinking about Punzel, so they're kind of always in my head. But I do like the ability to come back and just add to it instead of it, being just the standalone story. I think that with, like, for example, Punzel, I was going to do the traditional thing of you publish one fic, then you publish the sequel, and then maybe you can do timestamps along the way. But what I felt was actually right for the verse was to do a bunch of timestamps and not a sequel. And then that way you can actually grow with the characters kind of in real time.
So that it can kind of just, they can become their own thing based off of how you feel it's progressing, or how they're because Kasey and I also have differing thoughts sometimes. I do feel that the characters do talk to me at some point, but like, as a romance author, I also always am struggling for, I want that happy ending. So I kind of like, I'm always like outlining a basic, like, this is what I think. There might be a couple plot points along the way, and how I get to it might change. But like, in my mind, there's always a happy ending. Do you, having not read all of your stuff, is there always a happy ending in mind for you?
I feel like if you had asked me that when I first started writing, I'd have said no.
Okay.
But when I first started writing, I was not in a great place in my personal life. I had just survived cancer. So, and I was still processing that 6 months after the fact. And I think a lot of my work was darker. So I didn't always have a happy ending in mind. But I think at some point I realized I'm good with dark stuff or darker writing as long as it does have a happy ending.
Yeah. I'm looking over your verses now, because this always happens. I start looking at them and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know you wrote that, because I'm a fucking idiot. So I started with the photo op verse. I'm not caught up with it because I know you left it alone for a long time, and then you came back to it. And I was not in a place where I was reading like RPF at the time. But I have, like, I really did. I love the photo op verse. Whenever anybody, like, when your name comes up, because you're like fandom royalty, gets brown paper back again. That's always, I'm always like, you gotta read the photo op verse. Everybody needs to read that.
Thank you.
I also started the Chicago verse, and I was like, I'm gonna read this, and then I saw how many installments there were of it, and I was like, oh fuck. So I'm somewhere in the Chicago verse.
But I like that too. Like, about the verses is like the approach to it is you can just come back to them when you're ready.
I love that.
And
I love that about the Chicago verse.
Yeah, it's another little, like, it doesn't also, correct me if I'm wrong, is it technically not linear? Like, do you kind of go back and forth in some stuff? Okay.
Yeah,
because
it's not linear.
Yeah, because when I the most recent one, I think, is almost like, it's like I think it's like maybe a 5-year jump or something, like, from when they originally got there. And I was just like, oh, okay, I really like that, because you're taking snapshots. It's like a one shot, but with possibility, I guess, and not like a definite, you've got to turn this into a thing now. Like, like it's like, no, I'm going to just visit them.
No, I love that about the Chicago verse. And I love, like, that's not to say that there's any like pressure in any of your others, but the Chicago verse is like junk food for the soul. You just dip in and it's, they're just these little bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
And you can, if you just need one, you can just read one. And if you maybe read 20 in a row, and it's 3 a.m. and you're like, I have to get up for work in the morning. What the fuck have I done? Oh God. You can, like it doesn't judge, but it's not, it's not following that kind of traditional linear story. You're just kind of bouncing around with them and you're like, and today we're here and we're doing this. And it's, I really love that. I really, really love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Cause like I've had some folks ask if I would ever make it chronological. And I was like, well, first of all, there's like 200,000 words in the Chicago verse. And putting them all in chronological order would be really, really difficult.
I mean, it's your work, it's your series, you can do what you want, but I probably wouldn't enjoy that as much if it was chronological, because I really like, it's just like, and because like you can pick from the descriptions as well. If you choose to jump around within the series as you read it, you're not missing any like vital plot points. You can just be like, I need this today. So you go find that, Yeah. I love it.
It kind of feels like a surprise to me, like whatever part, like if you do go in order, you don't know what you're going to get anyway. And I kind of like that. So like, even if you want to kind of go in order of how they were written, you don't know what's, whose POV it's going to be, what they're, the neighborhood, the characters, they're so real and rich and detailed in just such a great way that the one Marina, like getting
I'm also kind of in love with the neighbor as well, like a little bit.
But Marina, especially like her just disdain and then finding out the why and the stuff. And that was a really interesting, like outsider perspective of them, and I just, it just got me. I also love that you wrote this. I mean, you started it back in 2013, way before the show was going to end. And you were like, they're getting a happy ending. Damn it. Like, this is what's going to happen. And I love that you did that so far in advance of, the ending of I wonder, has the ending of, I'm guessing not, but has the ending of Supernatural done anything to change, like maybe whatever you plan to write the future about it? Or do you think it's had any effect on you?
I remember writing one installment of TCV while I was actually getting ready for the finale. And I told myself, no matter what happens in the actual show, I still have TCV. And I think it didn't really impact me so much. I just had to reassure people that, no, I'm not going away with the end of the show.
Yeah.
That I would continue it, and I have continued it. So yeah, I don't think the show had too much impact on me in terms of what I was going to keep writing for the Chicago verse, because I want that happy ending for them.
Yeah.
And I have I have the end of the series in my head. But I just, you're
not ready to get there, right?
I'm
just
not.
Yeah. I think that's great. That's great to have that in mind. Kasey, I have questions about Palo Alto. So if you want to go with another verse.
Yeah, no, you keep talking over me. I am not done. Shush. Shush. Like, I don't know how you approach the Chicago verse, but I am like nowhere near the depths of the Chicago verse. But I had a Sam Winchester reader insert, like sort of, well, it's just one work, but different chapters. But I would have like ideas, and I would just throw little drabbles into that, and it was just kind of like almost like this diary of like, oh, when I'm having a shitty day and my brain hurts and I don't want to like happily throw myself off a cliff, I can go and just write something really cute, like affirming with Sam. And just kind of throw it out there. And like, I love, as an author who's done something similar, kind of looking at that and just knowing that that is like your comfort place as an author, where you can just go, I feel like trash today, so I'm going to write something really fucking cute and something really nice, and I'm going to just make these guys have a good time. And then you can come back to it later and you can be like, I felt like trash that day, but look at this beautiful comfort I gave myself.
Right.
I love that as a concept. It's not something Sandra will ever do, because she'd have 50,000 plot threads to pull together. I love you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I love you too. It's just we write differently. You know, I write
differently.
I think I am trying to embrace like I said, the series aspect of it more. I think more with like my Some Sunny Day, which is like my Dean / OFC. Like, I really just like that to have. I like them to just be. And if I'm ready to come back to them, I'll come back to them. And I know that they'll be there, you know, for whatever I'm thinking of doing. And they'll have their moment, or if it's a longer installment, it might be a longer piece of fiction, you know, and it may have a start and a stop and an ending in mind, but it doesn't end their story. So I think that I think I'm embracing that aspect of it more, because I think, and I don't know, like, I feel like for me, the story idea of a beginning, middle, and end, I was putting a lot of restraints or constraints on myself about that. So I'm letting that go a little bit more and just enjoying the scene or the moment. I've done a lot of one shots lately that aren't like, you know, tied into anything or whatever, or I find a way to like tie them together. And then they're just like little things, like little morsels that, you know, you get to play with and pick on. But I think Kasey and I are kind of like flipping sometimes, like when we decide to do things. Yeah.
I was thinking I've really tied myself into some, you know, longer form, beginning, middle, end stuff that I've written of late. I need to get back to just little, you know, those little bits.
And that's what, like, I know first time readers of my stuff, they'll see Chicago verse and be kind of turned off by it because of how many installments there are, which totally valid. So I kind of encourage them, like, give it a shot. A lot of them are small, like tiny bite-sized fics, you know, they're not all 4,000 words. A lot of the time there's like 1,000 and under. So yeah,
it's little, like, if you like, listeners out there, if you haven't looked at the Chicago verse and Wincest is your jam, definitely do, because it truly is like junk food for the soul. You know, it's not heavy. It's not anything that's going to leave you going, oh my God, no, I'm sad. It's fucking, it's great. It's so great.
Yeah. I think like it does have some heavier angst sometimes, especially dealing with PTSD.
But that's the nature of the Winchesters, like, you know, kind of typical angst, you know, please be aware.
Yes. And it does get to a heavy moment towards maybe the last third, but you always know that they're going to come back to a happy place.
Yeah,
and like, if I can go on with the Chicago verse, is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
We have no plans. If you want to talk to us for 3 hours, we're here.
Yep, we got nothing doing, friends. Nothing.
I just, you know, I had read, before I wrote anything, I had read so much fic, and a lot of it was fix-it curtain fic, you know, bouncing towards in the future with boys, and a lot of them were set in rural Midwest America. And I love those fics. They're beautiful. They definitely have a place in my heart. But I just knew that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do, I guess I just wanted something different. And because I'm Latino, I wanted to focus in on Pilsen, which is a Latino, predominantly Mexican-American neighborhood in Chicago. I just wanted to tune into this space that, to me, just resonates love and caring and your appreciation for culture.
It does. So does. You can tell. I mean, I wanted to ask you. I was like, it just feels like a part of you. Like, you know, so it's very, like, it feels like you 100%. Had this. Like, it's not just something you looked up. Like, you know, you could feel You can feel the characters, in it. It's great.
Yeah.
It gave me really, so like the kind of the Italian like mom character that you have in Some Sunny Day, Sandra, and I know that kind of like the whole thing that you have going on there comes from experience. The Chicago verse gave me the same feels. I was like, this is not someone who's skating by on Google in a dream. This is something you know and love, and you're sharing that with us, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, thank you. Like in my childhood, I grew up loving paletas. I mean, I still love paletas.
Oh, yeah.
But,
that's so great.
They're such an important part of, my core childhood memories that I knew I wanted to include that in fic. So it really, it's like coming home.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. There's lines and moments that are just like, damn. And they're very simple, but they're very just evocative, the feeling of the neighborhood and everything. It's just, you could just, I like that you can get lost in it for a little while and just feel that you're there. You're there with them experiencing it. And it's it's great.
Yeah. And it's, all based in reality of Pilsen. So you can go to these places.
I love that.
So cool. I love that. Like I'm a big proponent of Google and a prayer. I obviously I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not from the US. So anything that I write, like I had to create a series to put Sam in the UK, so I had half a fucking chance of being able to write something believable. Anything I write that is set in the US is a Google and a prayer. And I have mad respect for writers that can research and, really make those things authentic. But I think there's always just that little bit extra when it's an author writing what they know and what they love. Yeah. Like Sandra's Some Sunny Day, your Chicago verse. Like my favorite things that I have written that are het fics, reader insert fics, because I haven't put the Winchesters in England. I will. But not yet.
You should. I read that.
But I like some of my favorite things I wrote are like things that I know. I put Sam and his reader insert girlfriend in places that I am familiar with in my home, and it's just like it's like the secret ingredient is love. It just shines through, and oh man, it's junk food. It's junk food for the soul, and I love it so much. I love it so much. And I love like listening to you talk about it, and I can feel the connection that you have with this place and the food and the community and the people. And I'm just like, I want to just go absorb myself in that. I want to just, yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So welcome. It's so good. I'm going to have to finish it now. It's in a tab somewhere.
Was that what was the first thing you wrote? Was it that, or was there another? Like Supernatural.
That's the first thing you posted on AO3 was the first installment of Chicago Verse. Was that the first ever?
Yeah, first ever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Although I've gone back over the years and edited it. I have a master document of like the ages and characters like that. And I just keep adding to it year after year.
That's great.
Wow.
That's so great.
So I love that you were like, no, this thing, I'm making this thing, and this is what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah,
that's so cool. But before Sandra jumps all over me about Palo Alto, because she's been foaming at the mouth for this, she's like, it's fucking great, I love it. To take a complete detour from the Chicago verse, here is where we get into, oh my god, I didn't know you wrote that, because I just don't look at author names. I'm so fucking terrible at it. Especially when they're recommended to me by like my friends, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And then I'll get right to the end and I'll be like, that writing style seemed, oh, that's why I should read shit before I start reading it. So yeah, I found you through photo op. I've read a portion of Chicago verse. I've read Palo Alto as well, but I read your It Takes verse that I didn't know was you until literally just now. And I gotta say, that took me and my buddy Runaway Dreamer. We can't remember who shared it with who. I think she shared it with me, but we went back and forth on that verse for so fucking long. That really, really captured us, and it was, oh my god, it was so good. Like I'm in front of you. I still don't think I understand it, but like it grabbed me so fucking hard.
Okay, well, what is it? What is it about? Because I don't know about this verse. So what is this? It takes
well,
verse.
you should hype yourself up, Kat.
Yeah.
It's your thing. Because I fully fronted up and I was like, I still don't think, like, I've read this and I still know that I don't understand it. So I'm not the person to me.
Oh my gosh. It's the first long form fic that I wrote and published on AO3. It reads kind of like ABO, where you have breeders and masters and kind of like betas and alphas. And it's a very dark dystopian world where all breeders are enslaved and all masters have protocols and rules that they have to follow. And it's just the story of this very young Jared who comes from a background of a lot of physical and emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And he's used to it because that is just his life. That is the life of a breeder, is to expect XYZ. And if it doesn't happen, he starts panicking. So I think at some point, Jensen comes in and he's looking for Jared, but he's looking for his world's Jared. And he finds breeder Jared, and it takes them both for a loop. There's a lot of sci-fi elements in it. There's some romance, but again, it's very dark. And I think
there was a reason I didn't recommend it to you, Sandra.
No, I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
It's very dark. I've had some people comment that they could only make it through half the fic, and I'm like, oh, dude, like that's totally fine. You do you. You do what makes you comfortable. But I think that speaks to like how dark and heavy it does eventually get, is some people can't finish reading it.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes back around in the second installment. Like I don't want to like put words in your mouth, but like the first kind of section when we meet Jared and when we very early meet Jensen, like massive Handmaid's Tale vibes.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was thinking when you were talking about it. I was just getting that thought.
But it's like I'm trying to think what else, because like the things that happen to Jared don't happen in I haven't seen the TV show, but I've read the book. But it's that kind of expected abuse and the really not knowing how to cope when that doesn't come, and not knowing like PTSD, kind of not knowing how to exist outside of those rules. Yeah, it was I gotta like when Jared gives birth in the basement, that was pretty close to my limit, because my soul was just crying for him. It was so awful. Like, you know, if you like your fic dark and it does swing around to a happy ending that's fucking great, and you like, you know, you like your sci-fi and shit, like definitely give it a go. But there was 100% a reason I didn't say to you, Sandra, you should read this before this interview, because it would make you sad, baby. Don't read that.
Yeah,
don't read that.
Yeah, I think there's. I mean, we've talked about this with other writers too. If there's the guarantee that, you know, you're going to make them happy in the end, then I'm more willing to go along for the ride. With certain writers, it does depend, I think, a lot on the writer. You know, like if I know the writer in a weird way really cares for the characters, and I don't think you'd get that unless you read and you feel it, that, you know, no, they're in for, they love these characters, even if they put them through a lot of stuff, they love them, and they're, you know, so
I think that is what's part of what makes that verse like all the more difficult to read, is that they like I don't want to spoil, but let's say Jared's situation is fixed, for lack of a better word. He's saved, but that does not fix anything, really. And him and Jensen, like, they're like, it's like the hedgehog paradox. They so desperately want to make each other better, but they just can't. And then it's like you fix this one really awful problem, but then oh god, there's so many other problems. Fucking hell! It absolutely, oh man, it rips your soul out. But so good. But then
I really enjoyed writing that fic. I mean, I remember I'm a big fan of Jesus Christ Superstar from the 70s. And I took my mom to go meet Ted Neely, who plays Jesus Christ. And I remember writing fic standing in line. Like, I remember writing for It Takes while I stood there with my mom and you know, just waiting to meet him. So I have very clear memories of working on that fic, like either there or like in the break room of the bookstore I used to work with. So it's, you know, it's a fic for me that is very special. I think it's the only one that I've written that is over 150,000 words, which I will probably never do again.
There are some things we do once and then we go, that was a fucking mistake, and we don't do them again. Cough, cough, big bangs. I
mean, I stopped doing big bangs in like 2018, and then I came back maybe 2 years ago, and then I had to not do it this year. So, but I mean, I think
I dragged Sandra and my buddy Runaway Dreamer into the Wincest Big Bang this year.
Oh, nice.
And we went back and forth on whose fault that was, but it has in fact definitively been between me and Dreamer. Like, we both hauled Sandra into it. Between me and Dreamer, we were like, I think it's my fault. No, I think it's my fault. And it's been proven that it's my fault. But I won't fucking do that again. And this bitch, she's done. She's fucking finished. It's done. It's baited. Her eyes, like, she's done. And me and Dreamer are clock watching, going, "Oh,
I'm cheerleading. I'm cheerleading. I'm cheerleading. I'm cheerleading you on. I'm cheerleading." But I was like, "I'm not making this up." Nope.
Yeah, well, one of us stopped below 20K, like a reasonable person, and one of us is pushing like 35K, and the other one's, I think, maybe like 50 now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cal, did you use any? Were any of the big bangs sort of like jumping off points for any of your verses at any point, or no? Were they pretty much self-contained?
I think they were self-contained. Okay. I know, like, my very first big bang was a fic called Garbage.
Okay.
Which I don't know how I have my feelings about it have kind of changed over the years, but I took it down for a little while. And people were asking me where was it, and it was enough. There were enough people asking for it that I brought it back. But that was my very first big bang, and I haven't written anything like it. Didn't turn into a verse, which I'm glad for, because I think the ending is just really solid. But yeah, I don't think. Well, I know It Takes. Well, sorry, I know Back Pocket. That was supposed to be one single fic, and then it spawned a sequel, and then now it's become like this verse that I can't stop thinking about. So yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Okay. Can I talk about the last verse that I want to talk about before you? Like, can you hold on, Sandra?
Yeah, I'm not.
Just one more.
I am. I can totally hold on.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Just like white knuckling shit right now.
I'm just teasing you.
I'm teasing you. In direct contrast to It Takes, though, Minutes Past Midnight. Oh my god, I love that. I fell in love with that fic. Like, and it's actually, that's appropriate because that's an ABO fic, Sandra.
Okay.
That leans into, like we said, we literally just got done scratching the surface of ABO and all its various, permutations and things like that. But this is more, the Minutes Past Midnight verse leans into the werewolf transformation aspect of ABO, Omegaverse, and things like that. But I just, oh my god, I just love that. And
thank you.
And like, disabled characters they're difficult to write, and I think a lot of authors shy away from that. I know I certainly do. But you just fucking nailed it. Like, And it's so fucking cute. And Jared's so goddamn defiant. He's like, no, I will stay out here and fuck you. I just love it so much. Right. It's so good. You should read that one, Sandra. You should read that one.
Okay.
It's only 37,000 words.
Okay. I've got that one.
It's only, 30,000 words. Yeah.
I've got that one.
Yeah.
Down. Yes.
Yeah. No, again, that was another one that wasn't until I was looking at this going, oh my God, that was you. Because I'm an idiot and I'm sorry about that. But I really do love that. I really did love that. I think that again might have been one that was passed back and forth between me and Dreamer, because we send each other recs all the time.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, that was it was good.
It was a great thing to write.
Yeah.
Sometimes I write ABO where they aren't werewolves, like Back Pocket is ABO, but there's no werewolf element. But this, I think, was my very first like actual ABO fic where they transform. So it was just so soothing to write. I was in the middle of reading Laura Ingalls Wilder books again, because childhood favorites. And I just wanted to write because sometimes I write what I don't see in fandom, like Chicagoverse has a lot of people of color. And I have noticed that I know that, Supernatural's audience turns out to be predominantly white. So I really wanted to insert, my own culture from being Latino. And then in Minutes Past Midnight, I really wanted to insert my own experience of being disabled. So, I just wanted to see it. I hadn't seen anybody really do disabled J2 werewolf ABO fic. I might have seen maybe one or two, but they just didn't hit the spot for me. And, I just really wanted to see a badass disabled character.
He's so fucking cool. He's so badass, though.
Yeah, like I didn't want the whole like inspirational kind of thing that I think is very problematic. I wanted something authentic. And, somebody asked like, why didn't you heal him when he transformed into a werewolf? And I was just like, well, because, if you're going to be disabled in one form, you're going to be disabled in another form too. So yeah, I think I had a lot of fun writing that. And that's one of those verses that rolls around in my head quite often, because I would love to write a sequel for it. I would be first in line to read that. I'd be the midnight release for real. I think it like as someone who is not like I write about like mental health issues and stuff, but as someone who is not physically disabled, it's very difficult to be like you're never quite sure like, is it your place? Like I personally don't feel like my voice should be in that space. It's not my lived experience. It's not my place to take that voice. But again, if people only ever write what they know, right?
What do we lose? But as a reader, I really loved that Jared kind of walked the line between his absolute fierce independence, but not to his own detriment. He would accept help. He knew who he was, and to quote my mother, I know my limits and they don't scare me. He knew who he was and what he needed help with and what, and I just, it's so fucking good. It was so authentic and so, it's just so fucking good. I wish I could be more, more articulate about this, but it's so fucking good. Jesus. I was like, the way he'd set everything up so he could do by himself, but he still, you knew he had people that he could rely on and people that would come and help him, but it was welcomed. It wasn't like forced. Nobody was making him feel less than because of the help that they get. It's just so fucking good. And then Jensen comes along and Jensen's like, I can make it better. Not that you need it, but I can help. Sandra, you got to read it. It's so good.
I will.
Yeah, I didn't want to make Jensen into this savior,
Yeah.
We call it the magic dick. I've heard people call it the magic dick.
Yeah, but no, he's not even. He's like, it's so good because when you start off that fic, Jensen is the one at the disadvantage. He is the one that needs the help.
Mm-hmm.
And he repays that help in such a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
There's no kind of white knighting. There's no like savior. He's just like, let me help you if you want, but like I have ideas, but like you don't got to take them.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got to read it. It's so fucking good.
Well, I mean, I think the best kind of fantasy is anchored in reality, right? And whatever that reality is that you bring to it, I think makes it it's just more resonant. You know, you just like people just feel that love and care for whatever it is you're doing. Like you have to write about stuff you know, but then you can write about stuff you want to know about. You know, so it's like being able to kind of like marry that too, I think is really good. And you were talking a lot too about Latina writers. We had a writer recently, Zep Skies, who she writes Dean, Reader, and Dean OFC. And she was talking a lot about how, like, you know, she hadn't seen that in a lot of it. She's like, well, I want to write it. I want to, you know, maybe people will like hearing my take on it or my story, or like this reader that, you know, I think has a lot of the culture, you know, the cultural references and things that, you know, I love about my culture and show it to others. And her stuff has gotten really great responses with that. And I think it is, we've always, I think too, like, well, if you don't see it, you're right. You should write it. You know, if you have to write what you want to see, if nobody else is doing it.
if you can't find it, create it. And I fully agree with that. I think being a member of the LGBTQ community, I'm so fucking used to people who have no goddamn business coming into my community spaces and trying to speak for us, mentioning no names. So Sandra doesn't have to write down another timestamp. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm just not going to say it. I'm so fucking used to that and so pissed off with it that I'm much more careful with where I put my voice. And I think it is my responsibility to lift up the voices of other spaces rather than go in and speak myself, you know?
Right. Yeah, I wrote one fic called Hope You Don't Mind. And I was very, very careful with the way I wrote it because it features deaf Jensen and hearing Jared. And I'm not part of the deaf community. I'm certainly an ally. I know a little bit of ASL. I have a friend who's deaf/hard of hearing. And I had to really do a lot of research. I had to meet with people, you know, because this isn't my lived experience. Some deaf folks identify as disabled, some don't. And I learned a lot about myself when I was learning ASL. So it was a great experience, but I had to be very careful with it.
Yeah. It's interesting, and you can feel free to cut this out. Although it won't matter because by the time this goes out, the bang will be fucking over. But the fic I'm writing for the Wincest Big Bang features a gender fluid Dean.
Oh, nice.
And you think that this wouldn't be a problem for me as someone who identifies as trans and queer, you know, all of those other things. And I'd be like, this is a breeze. I totally know what I'm doing here. No. Because while I do identify as trans, I also identify as agender. I am literally 404 gender not found. Do you know how fucking difficult it is to work within that when you're like, I don't understand what any of this, what the fuck? So I ended up doing a hell of a lot more research than I ever expected to do about something I thought I knew about. Yeah. But I was like, I don't know, like, and I'm not saying that concept would have been any easier for somebody who like sort of lives within the gender binary. I don't know if it would be easier for them or harder for them or whatever, but I am still being like, I hope to God I'm hitting the right mark here because I don't want to be offensive to anybody.
Right.
You know, and I just don't think that holding my hands up and going, oh, but I'm trans and I'm queer and I'm part of this community. That's not going to that's no defense if I've not hit the right mark here. Right. And it's written from Sam's POV as well, you know, because I really like to make shit hard on myself. So then I'm like angsting over the terminology that Sam uses and the words that he uses because I don't want to be offensive to anybody,
Right.
even though this is my space. And I'm like, in theory, I'm allowed to be here and put my voice in, but I'm like, I don't know why I did this to myself. I don't know why I did this to myself. This was I'm not going to say it was a terrible idea, but it was certainly a choice that I made.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that a lot. I think, maybe this is why I don't write a lot of transgender fic. For me, I think it hits a little too close to home, but then I also don't want to I think I'm just afraid of having my experience kind of shadow over other people's experiences with gender, because we're not all the same. So I think, I have genderqueer Sam in Chicago Verse, and I think that that's probably the furthest I'll go. I have had some requests for trans Sam or trans teen, or maybe they're both trans. But I don't know why I just can't write that. It's just, it hits a little too close to my own identity. Yeah.
I made Sam in this fic. It started life as a commission. And now it's just taken on a fucking, it's a whole universe of its own. But when I was kind of writing this out, and I was like, okay, well, this is Dean's gender identity, where does his sexuality fall? And the person I was kind of it's not a commission, it's more like a request from a friend. But they were like, I'd love to see just gay Dean, just he likes guys, that's it.
Right.
And even just saying that now, I'm like, is that accurate? Because what about when he feels like a woman? Would that make him straight? I've confused myself. Moving on. And I was going back and forth on Sam. I was going to be like, well, is he going to be gay Sam, who identifies as a cis male? So I was like, is he going to be gay? Is he going to be bi? And then I had to make him pansexual, because I was like, I need something in this fucking thing that I can relate to. I need something that makes sense to me, because nothing else. I needed this one thing where I was like, this I understand. Not having any goddamn preference, I understand that, and I can build around that as to how Sam is able to, engage with Dean and interact with him, and how, where they meet on this. But I was just, I wasn't expecting it to be as difficult as it has been for some of the scenes. I really thought it would be easier, and I don't know why I thought that, but I did think it would be easier.
Yeah. It's interesting, the things that when you're writing you come across and you're just like, damn, this is more difficult than I thought it would be.
Yeah, especially with if you read it when it comes out, it's the bang releases in October, and it's not finished either, so nobody panic.
Yeah.
But there are scenes of Dean, really struggling with his gender identity that I thought would be reasonable to write, because I know that I'm going to make it okay in the end. But I was writing it oh my God, I'm writing from my fucking soul. This is so ungodly difficult. And I have a whip featuring a not legitimate in this is not legitimate, but I have a fic with a more traditional female to male trans Dean that I had to put down. If I had to keep poking my own raw nerves.
Yeah.
No.
You both make really great points. I think that it's how much do you want to scratch at, when you're writing, and knowing what am I trying to get across here? And how much do I want to give of myself? Because I think some people do give their blood, sweat, and tears, to their fic. And I think more of I want to look at it from I don't want to poke the bear too much sometimes, when I write, because it's this for me, I look at it as really I want to write something that even if it's hard, but it's going to make me happy. And I don't want to, I don't want to poke at it too much,
Sandra writes to escape. Yeah. Me and Sandra have talked about this a lot. She writes for escapism.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe I started out writing as escapism, but it's turned into therapy. And I will, I'll poke those nerves, and I'll see what shakes out, and it's painful, but it usually works out.
Yeah, which is great. And I think it's wonderful to hear how people come about and why they write, and or how their writing has evolved, and what they get out of the writing. And I think that's always it's great, because the more you write, I think the more you learn and you grow, and hopefully get better, or tap into different things when it comes to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. But just all that to say, yeah, I'm wary about where I'm not wary about where I lend my voice, but I'm cognizant of where my voice should be and where it shouldn't be. I don't want to like overstep those bounds.
Yeah, I know. I think it takes, I think it's a big sign of self-awareness when it comes to where is my voice? Am I uplifting or am I punching down?
Yeah, absolutely. It goes without saying that you never want to be talking over somebody, but I think lending your support to authenticity and the people who live these experiences, and this is their culture and this is their lived life and experience. I think I'm always going to be more comfortable putting my voice behind that and lifting that up than I am, kind of tiptoeing into that and seeing what I can do in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, Sandra, I'm done now. You can talk about Palo Alto.
Okay, so it was the first one of yours that I read. Like, I think I read it all in one night. Once I started, I had to read all the parts to it. Yeah. What prompted you to, okay, I'm going to do, it's female Sam. Like how did that come about? And like, was it a request? Like, just, I would love to know, because again, this is another, it feels so very real and in the moment. And I love Dean in this so much. I love him in this so much because it's just young Dean, that, that part of Dean that I think is kind of like that nostalgic part of him. I just love it. I love it so much. How did that start? What? Yeah. Do you remember? It might have been a while.
I know. It has been a while. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. And that's interesting that was the first work of mine that you read. I've never heard that before. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it started out like just kind of like anything else that I've written, where I didn't see my personal take on it throughout fandom. There's some great always female Sam fics out there. I think I just wanted to try it for myself to see, like, could I write that? So it was a challenge for me in multiple ways. So like, could I write it? Could I be authentic with it? Would I preserve the core of Sam as a character? I don't think it was a request. I think it was just me being like, like, let's try this. Like, it's something I never did before, so maybe it's worth doing. And I'm very glad that I pursued that, because I'm very fond of the Sam in that universe. So
we are also very fond of the Sam in that universe.
I love how strong. I love that this Sam was able to kind of get Dean permission to try to get out, kind of a situation, and be that escape. And like, I mean, you've got one of the tags that we love, John's A+ parenting in the in that verse, and I think it's very, even how the interactions between her and John, and how it's still like it's this weird distant, like, like, it's just like not really understanding each other even in that regard. But then how Dean had to still parent, you know what I mean? Like, in a weird way, like, and like doing all of those things that he did, but then having to do it in this other type of relationship, and how it's still, there's still the incest happening, but there's all these other, there's different levels to it and different dynamics to it when you have male, female, it feels, they feel authentic, but also a different story to tell. And I love her trying to figure out, what the fuck is she going to do with him? Like, and how he's like, it's just like hanging out, like, make a decision, buddy. Are you in or you're out? Like, I can't wait for you. But then realizing, and just, okay, do you decide you're just going to write smut too? And then it turns into a thing, because the smut in this is just so great too. It's just like, it's so good. It's so amazing. Like, I just like, do you have that thought too, where you're like, I would just like to write porn, but then it ends up not being that, you know,
it was supposed to be a one shot. It was just supposed to be porn. Fucking hell.
Right? Yeah. I remember writing this fic. I think it's called Just Them. And I wrote it on my phone at like 5 a.m. I was exhausted. And it had to have been like an early smartphone. So, you know, the tiny text and everything. And I think it's like 2,000 words, but it has over 50,000 hits. And I'm just like, I just wanted to write porn, y'all. And like, sometimes I'll spend like all of this time writing something that I think is more literary, and it'll get like 1,000 hits. And then if I just write porn, then all of a sudden everybody's on board.
But it's so intimate too. Like, I mean, there's just like, it's just so, like when they're together, the intimacy of it is just so beautiful. Like, it's beyond porn, right? But it's like, but you do that part of it so well. So I'm just giving you like, you put it all together and it just works so well. I think that will be one of my favorites. I mean, like I said, I love the Chicago verse. I love the world, but I feel like it's just so intimate because it's really just them kind of figuring each other out in a lot of ways. And they're isolating themselves to get away, like, you know, from the thing. John, I feel, you know, that's kind of like just hovered and like, just, is this an out? Is this a possibility? And they feel like, yeah, it could be. Yeah. I love the sort of the high positive, you know, note that it's like, there's a chance this can work. Like, you know, but you got to stick with it, you know, you got to make the decision. And I feel like he's made the decision and she's realizing that they are going to give it a try, like an honest to God try. And that's really special. I do love Sam in that. I think that she's very, very reminiscent of the Sam character. And yeah, it's great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like it is a joy to hear that from folks. It was I think maybe one of my first, if not like the second, fic that I had written that had a het pairing. So it was definitely different for me to write it in that way. And then, you just don't want to be, I guess I just, you know, same thing with like, whose space are you occupying? I didn't want it to be accidental misogyny. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So Palo Alto is great. I miss them. I think you're right with like, they're both starting to realize that this is a thing and that it can continue despite themselves and despite John.
Absolutely. It sounds like you write, do you write a lot? Like, are you always like you said, a lot of daydreaming and stuff? Are you always like finding putting down an idea or storing it, or have you taken a break from it? Like, was there a time when you were just writing and then you're like, I got to take a step back? Or how is that? Does it depend? I'm so sorry when I get like this. I ask like 15 questions all at once when I get excited. But my question, I guess, is, does it ebb and flow for you depending on your headspace, or maybe how much you want to deal with these characters too?
I think like, I feel like I can call myself this. I think I was a very prolific writer when I first started, maybe like the first 3 or 4 years. I was just churning out stuff, you know, it was just there was just a lot of output. And then, you know, the more that I grew as a person and then as a writer, I realized that, you know, I have to go back and fix a few things because I know better or I know more. I have taken a big break from fandom actually this year. The last thing that I posted was back in May, and I haven't posted anything since, which makes me really sad. I definitely have slowed down in my writing. I don't, especially with like the Chicago verse, I don't write as much as I used to, but I like to think that the quality increased. So, you know, it wasn't just how many words can I do? Now it's more like, what is the best that I could do?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. I think it also depends on what's going on in my life. When I was more prolific, I was working a job in the city, so I would have to commute, which means I could take my little netbook and just write on the train. Mm. And I would find it so funny that I was like, I'm writing porn while everybody else is just going about their day.
Yeah. Yep. When I was a little baby writer, like I took a long break from like fandom and writing for like the better part of a decade after I had my eldest kid. But when I was like before that, when I was a little baby, I remember like taking notebooks to concerts because the guy I was with at the time, we would always get there really early so we could queue, so we could be like front center to the stage. And I would take notebooks and I would like just be sitting in the queue writing, fucking whatever. It's kind of Avenged Sevenfold fic. I'm a walking cliche. And I was like, I'm writing porn and nobody fucking knows.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I love that feeling. I still love that feeling where I'll be at Starbucks or the library or something and I'm like, I'm using your Wi-Fi to write porn.
Yeah, you don't even know, guys. You don't even know.
There's so many of us doing that, though. It's just so funny. Like, you just think, hey. But, like, you're probably like somebody right across the way from you, but could be doing the exact same.
Oh, yeah. And, like,
awesome.
It's interesting when, like I was election judging one year. So I was, handing out ballots and stuff like that. And I was writing porn in between. So I was like, I'm technically writing porn on the government dime.
Sandra, so you obviously write Wincest and you write J2. So how do you decide like what goes where? Do you come up with the idea and think, oh, this is more of a Sam and Dean idea, or is it the pairing and you want to put them in that story? Like how does that work?
That's a really good question.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it depends on the dynamic of the characters. Do I want to include this huge kind of, I don't know what to call it, like huge concept of incest, or do I want to just write non-incest? I think maybe that's a deciding factor for me.
Oh, cool.
Because I love to delve into that toxic codependency taboo relationship that Sam and Dean have. So do I want some of that, or do I want something kind of from scratch, completely new, doesn't have that dynamic to it?
Yeah. Oh, so, that's really interesting.
And then sometimes like the characters just pop into my head with the idea already. I've had the fortune and the privilege of working with many wonderful betas over the years. Shout out to my bestie beta, Deb, who has been with me for photo op since the beginning. I mean, she knows that verse better than I do.
Is she like your consultant, like to photo op? Like if you're not sure, like, did I do this? Like, does this make sense? Like, she'll just know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was like, is this a continuity thing? And she's like, it's definitely a continuity thing. So
those are the best people.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I would be lost without Dub. So, but anyway, so like some of these, ideas are just requests from folks like Deb. Folks from like readers will already tell me like, can you do a J2 thing? So it's 50-50 of like what I want to do and what I can envision, and then requests, suggestions, and maybe some demands.
Have the requests and the like, are you still getting a lot of requests and stuff? And have you had to like sort of like let people know, hey, I'm taking a little bit of a break and, maybe hold off on requests for a while? Or how in touch, communicative are you with, your fans? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of them for your works.
Oh, thank you. Again, like I've been very honored and privileged to have the readers that I do. I've met so many cool people through fandom. I mean, I flew to Denver Labor Day weekend and met one of my good readers, also a beta, and we just spent the weekend together. It was surreal. was like,
Nice.
who am I that have these experiences? And then, so yeah, I've met some great lifelong friends through fandom, and I do get requests from time to time, but I think that most of my long-term readers know that I'm kind of overwhelmed, or that I get overwhelmed quite quickly right now. So I think they understand that and don't have this expectation that I'm going to update every week.
Right.
Because that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So newer readers, sometimes, and it's wonderful when you're enthusiastic about it and very respectful, they will ask for an update, and, it'll be a nice nudge for me to like, hey, can I get back into this verse? Like, I have one called Model of the Solar System. And that fic has been open since 2014, and I've tried to end it since then. And now it's like, oh my gosh, it's the 10-year mark for that fic, and it's still not finished. So occasionally I'll get requests from folks could you hurry up and write more of this? But yeah, I think most folks know that you're a whole person. You're not just this fanfic writer.
You've been in fandom for so long in this fanfic world. Have you noticed a change or an expectation in readers, or because we're talking like a long time period, do you think there's been a shift? Maybe it has more to do with social media or platforms or how people engage, but do you still feel that people are still very respectful and understand that, or get that eventually kind of, or do they weed themselves out in terms of, no, this is not how you need to learn the program. This is how it's expected in terms of like, this relationship, I think, because you've done it a long time. And I don't know, I feel like you'd be someone that could, if you've noticed any shifts in that sort of relationship between reader and writer.
Yeah, I have. I've definitely seen, I don't know, I don't know how to word this exactly, but I don't want to say Supernatural is a dying fandom, but there's definitely less interaction these days.
Yeah.
You see that with like the stats of, the kudos and the hits and the comments. So I've definitely seen a shift where people are happy for what's being published now, because they know that usually long-term readers know that this is way less than what there was before. But I think overall, like for myself, the more that I share myself with readers, the more they understand that, oh, wow, Cal has a lot going on. So I think that has made like this understanding of, I write sometimes for myself and sometimes I write for other people. And when I can circle back to it, I do. And I don't know if it's okay to talk about this, but I you can cut this out. I have a Patreon, and those are readers who have known me for quite a long time. And I share with them, I think, a little bit more about like my own personal life and what's going on. So they know what to expect. And I think they tell other people what to expect on my behalf too.
That's nice though. That's nice to have that connection with, with people for that period of time that have your back, I think, in a sense too, and I think, because I think we put so much on ourselves too. We put these schedules and these deadlines, and sometimes you're just like, people are willing to wait. They have a patience that sometimes you're not giving yourself enough bandwidth, to just be, it's okay. It's okay if you don't get to it. So it's a self-imposed, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. And everybody's got a life. Everybody's doing stuff. This is a nice little perk or, fun little part that makes their lives more bearable sometimes, like this escape into this wonderful, wonderful world that, writers like you get to create for readers. And I was just thinking about how long you've been in the fandom. It's just, it's pretty. And your thoughts on the fandom kind of like waning. I've talked to Kasey, like I think it's just pretty impressive how long it's still hung around 4 years after it's been over, so I feel like it does have staying power, but it's definitely not going to be this huge thing like it was. Do you feel like there was a certain time period where it was just like really, really popular? Like, was there a year that you can remember that, like hits or kudos were just like, popping and just like, damn, like people couldn't get enough of the stuff?
Yeah, I think when I first started writing photo op verse, I think that was really a really popular time in fandom. I can't even remember what year I started photo op, maybe 2015.
Okay.
So around that time, I think it was like, for me, the height of fandom. I was still going to ChiCon here in Chicago, and it was just the vibe there was so exciting. And I mean, like, I'm old school. Like, I've been around, like you said, for a long time. And I used to go to cons when they were held at the Westin Hotel in Rosemont. And that's like, that's way back.
Oh, but you had Jensen actually looking like Dean, didn't you? That's like my thing. I did. I was like, oh, I'm so late to the game, and I just want a picture with Dean.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I know. I have some photo ops where he is totally Dean.
Oh, like the flannel and all that kind of stuff. Oh,
exactly.
Lovely.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. So lovely.
And I think it's just, I think 2015 was really the year that I know that I was super into it and super dedicated. And even though I had a lot going on in my personal life in 2015 and 2016, I really think that was the height of my own production. But also I feel like people were super invested in the show.
Yeah. We were just like 4 or 5 years too late, Kasey. Sorry.
Yeah. Womp womp.
Okay,
just have to cope.
I think, it doesn't say anymore because I went back and updated, but photo op is definitely, I think, from 2015.
One of the I think it's the 4th installment of photo op has the stamp 2015 on it, but the others are like, I can see that you've like changed them around and moved them and stuff.
Okay.
So, do you have like a favorite? It's hard to say because like everybody's, it's like picking out a favorite kid. But do you have like a favorite?
The one that isn't currently screaming.
Do you have
That's real easy?
Do you have like a favorite work of yours, or no? Is it just like it just depends? Like Kasey said, like at the time, like how well they're behaving, like situation.
Yeah. I think it's hard, right? Like you want them all to be your favorite because they're all your babies, and you put so much work into each and every one of them. But I think my very favorite verse or my work is Back Pocket, which is kind of interesting because it's one of my lesser known verses.
I know of it. I haven't read it, but I know of it.
Yeah, like I think a lot of what I see with TCV is that people say there's just so much, it's a little overwhelming to get into. And I think with Back Pocket, I make a note at the very beginning that this is going to feature Fat Jensen. And I think that really makes people
obsess people.
Yeah. So so it's my favorite. I just love everything about it. I think of it often, and it's just a nice, like, happy getaway from my mind. Being in a tropical island, miles and miles, thousands of miles away from, from another country. So, and it's very colorful, and there's a whole language to it that I've just made up. And and there's, I don't know, I just feel like it hits all my buttons. It's got poetry, it's got song lyrics, it's got the ABO element, it's got some, what I think is, some very hot smut scenes. And I think that's my favorite.
I've got that written down too. I've got to read that too.
We'll keep you busy for years, friend.
Yeah.
Years.
No, I think that's what's so because you'd made a comment too about like, you'd taken stuff down, but then you put it back up. Do you see value in leaving your stuff up for other people to just get a chance to experience and stuff? Like, would there ever be a time, and I hope it isn't, but that you just be like, no, I think I'm just going to take all this down? Or do you really live by the AO3 like archive sort of philosophy that, it's there for whoever in the future happens to come across it? And, this is my sort of like time capsule in the fandom.
So the reason why I took down quite a few fics and put them in a private collection was that I was doxxed.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
those were fics that I was like, yeah, I don't want people to see this. They were a little too like garbage. Unless I tell people in my personal life, they ask, can I read your stuff? And I'm like, no, absolutely.
Right.
Just because if you're not in fandom, and I say fandom overall, then you're not going to understand or be able to connect with what I write.
Right.
You're just going to judge it as, oh my God, you write incest.
Yeah.
So, but no, I still have some fics in that private collection, and it's mostly just because I want to edit them, not because I'm trying not to get negative reaction from people I know in real life. But I will never take down my fics from AO3. Like, it's too much part of me to not have out there. And I understand that for a lot of people over the years have told me that these fics are their lifelines. And I would not want to take that away from folks.
Yeah. Totally
That's so
get
nice. That's so nice. It's so nice to give that much of yourself. You know what I mean? Like just in general. And I don't think writers are given enough credit for that, because I think everything that you pour out of yourself, it's like a part of you, like it's some reflection of something.
Yeah.
And it's
we're not kidding when we say blood, sweat, and tears, like for real.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Then on the flip side of that, being in fandom, who do you love to read? Do you have time to read because you're writing so much? And when you do, who do you read? Who are some of your favorite authors?
Oh gosh, no, I don't read a lot. I don't read a lot anymore. Both like mainstream books and fics. Just because I'm afraid of author bleed. Like I wouldn't want to take anything away from folks.
Gotcha. Can you talk a little bit more about that, author bleed? Because I have this thing, Kasey, I think, I don't know if this is author bleed, but like, I'm very much like, if I come up with an idea, I want to have like I want to have input, but like, I hold on. Kasey calls me a hoarder. Like, I don't like give it up right away because I don't want to feel like I'm taking too much of someone else's inspiration, if that makes sense in some way. Okay.
Totally.
Okay.
All right. I think that's how I feel with author bleed, right? Like, I don't want to read something and then that person has a particular style and I don't want that style to bleed into my own writing because number one, I respect the first author, and number two, I want to be my own author too. So I think it's just, and maybe it's just me, but I just don't want, I never want to have somebody say, hey, this reads a lot like my fic.
Yeah. And I get that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're missing out on not being able to read some? Just like, I wish, damn it. I just wish I could read some stuff. Okay.
Sometimes I do. Yeah. Especially if it's a fic with Sam and Dean or J2, especially if it's a Western style fic. I love Westerns.
Okay.
So, occasionally somebody on Tumblr will mention like, oh, this is a great Western J2 fic. And I'm like, damn it.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah. So
is that kind of like a fanfic trope that like, but so do you feel like you'll never write a Western? So it's like, it's free reign. Like I can go and read the things because I don't think I'll ever write a Western kind of a situation.
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I have Western ideas in my head, especially surrounding maybe this isn't true Western, but like the Oregon Trail.
I got all the Oregon Trail, yes.
Yeah. Or like that part of history fascinates me. Like I can't imagine walking 16 miles a day. And I just think of like the fortitude, the resilience that those people had to not only leave what they knew, but go out and into completely kind of blind, just that faith of there's other country out there. So,
yeah.
But yeah, and like, I love historical fiction, and I can't. I'm like, where did this train of thought go? But yeah, no, I do feel some like fear of missing out on, contemporary fandom. But my favorites are kind of like, oh my gosh, how do you say her screen name? It's Nixosity.
Oh, yeah.
Kasey's talked about them. Yeah.
Them. Yep.
Yeah. Nix is great. Just a fantastic author and also a fantastic person. And then,
have you read the homework verse yet, Sandra?
I haven't. It's on my to read. It's on my it's on my to read.
Even if you only read the first line.
Okay. I swear, I will do it soon. Let me get through the next couple of weeks.
Do you hear that? Soon. Like you're gonna be traveling in a week. You could read it on the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'll read it on the train. Homework verse. Homework verse. Okay.
Yeah. That is I think that really again was like a formative author for me where I was like, yes, this is how I want to do it.
Yeah, 100%. God, I love it.
And then my other favorite is Lexical. They have a verse called Dawnbringer verse.
I have that open. I know what that is. I haven't read it, but I know what it is.
Like
Kasey, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
How absolute dare
it ASAP. Like it will blow your mind.
I have read the homework verse twice. Fuck you. How dare you? Yeah, all right. That's valid. No, it was one of those things. It was sent to me at a time when I was really struggling to read long stuff, and I was just reading like, little like couple of thousand one shots and stuff. So it's sitting in my tabs, but it's huge. And I gotta commit back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a big verse, but so worth it. I mean, you will be hooked by the characters, the world building, the plot. I mean, it's just all there. Like
I have a question. So we are going to do fanfic classics. You're probably the best one then. Should we read? Which one of these should we read? Should we, if we were going to pick one, like to start with, like if we do a fanfic classic, like deep dive, say homework first?
I've got a notepad here.
Maybe we do the Lexical one since you haven't read that one yet, Kasey. Maybe would you consider that like and again, classic is very, so would you think that's a classic to read if we had to pick one? Because nobody's giving us any thoughts on this topic. So,
oh, really?
We haven't asked. Yeah. Well, that's mean.
We haven't asked. No. Well, one person dreamer hasn't helped us with that yet.
Yeah. All right. No, that's fair. You're just going to call her out like that on the show. It's okay. She can't listen to this. It's fine. She hasn't finished the show, so she doesn't listen to episodes that might have spoilers, and obviously I got to tell her now, like, no, we discussed at the end in detail.
Hurry up and finish, and then you can listen. Right. You can listen to Cal's interview. Yeah, but yes, which one would you suggest, like, as an option if we were going to like pick a fanfic classic to read?
Oh gosh,
you can recommend your own stuff as well. That's fine.
Okay, I think I'll give you maybe 3.
Okay.
Yep.
So one would be Dawnbringer.
Okay.
So that's Lexical.
Mm-hmm.
And then, gosh, there's things that are like things that I consider like pillars of Wincest specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's one, I'm trying to think of it. Oh man, wow, I'm totally blanking on it.
That's okay. But if you can't think of them now, shoot us an email. Like, I don't want to put you on the spot.
If you could, I would really appreciate that.
We would be so grateful if you would shoot us an email, but don't like put yourself on the spot.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. But Dawnbringer is definitely one of them. Yeah.
it's stuck in my head. It's a fic where Sam and Dean it's kind of like the West, the Wild West, and they go out with a bang. Like, you're not sure if they're shot and they die or if they somehow come out of it alive.
Okay.
That's one fic, and I'm going to have to see if Deb knows what I'm talking about. And then there's another one where it's like the end of the world and like it's just them two. And that's also might have been like a Candlebeck fic. But yeah, I'll have to like shoot you an email to
that would be awesome.
To make sure.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yes, please.
So you can ask your questions. Ask your questions now.
I can ask my questions. Yay, my questions.
Yay.
You sounded so enthusiastic about that, Sandra. You want to do that again?
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, so depending on what episodes you listen to, you may know these questions, you may not, but it's totally fine. The first one is, if you'd like to share, no worries if you don't. But where'd you come up with your username? Where did Compo? Well, I know where the 67 came from, but like.
Oh, good, because most people don't catch that, and I'm like, come on.
Really?
I know. I was like, come on, y'all! Like, this is a blatant shout out to the Impala.
For real? My stomach dropped then, and I was like, did I fucking misremember the year of the Impala? Is it 69 and not 67? My whole stomach dropped to my knees. Then I was like, have I forgotten my supernatural law?
Let's see. So there is a old series on BBC called The Last of the Summer Wine.
Shut up! It is not a reference to that.
It is. Oh my gosh, you know what I'm talking about.
I do, because every time I see your name, I think of the character, and I was like, in no way it's a reference to Compo from Last of the Summer Wine.
It's totally a reference. Yeah.
Aww,
oh my gosh, I've never ever met anybody who understood that.
My God. I fucking love that show. I used to watch it with my mom, and he was my favorite character. And I do understand why they cut him out of the show. He died, Sandra. The actor died.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, but tell me about the character. So,
oh my God, he's right. So the show is about like these three old dudes who live in like North Yorkshire, which is like when you think of like British countryside, North Yorkshire is something that you would think of like stone walls and hills and rolling fields, and it's just these three old dudes whose wives have all died, and they just go and have fucking shenanigans, and it's fuck funny.
It's so funny.
It's almost slapstick, but it's not. It's just shy of slapstick. But they come up with all these stupid fucking ideas, and they fall like off logs into rivers and shit, and they're old and they don't give a fuck, and it's it's fuck funny. And like, and there's the like none of them have wives. All of their wives have passed away. I don't think Compo was ever married, actually. But there's like some like it's just like old age pensioners fucking about.
Is it like grumpy old
half an
men?
hour?
Is it kind of like that? Is it like grumpy old men?
No.
Oh,
It's it's like it's like a soap opera kind of thing. Like it has a plot and everything.
Oh wow!
But like,
it's got almost 300 episodes. What?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's like a. It's not like old men like being themselves talking about. They're like actors. They're playing characters and stuff. And there's some like old women in there as well. And it's just old people fucking about.
Jesus, it went through to 2010.
Yeah. This is really sad. As the actors kept passing away, they kept bringing in new old people.
Right. Yep.
Oh my God.
I was like, So, I mean, that's, again, I've never met anybody who knows.
I cannot believe that. But Compo's character, he was one of the original trio. Yeah. And he was this dirty, like he wore like a beanie and wellies, and he was gross. Yep. And he's like old. I think he might have had a beard.
I'm seeing a picture of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was he was convinced that he was going to get one of the pensioner ladies. She lived in the flat above him, and her name was Nora Batty, which is the most British old lady name fucking ever, right? And she would chase him about and hit him with a broomstick.
Aww.
And he was undeterred by this. and he was was so fucking funny.
Yep. He's like the comedic relief.
Yeah, and he was and he was just like everything you kind of think about like a gross farmer dude. That was what he was. And he would come up with all this, like a lot of the stupid shenanigans that they would do. And he would like, Nora Batty.
Like what you guys imagine Dean's going to turn into if he
You know what? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. And when the actor who played him passed away, they recorded an episode of, because they had the character die as well, and they recorded an episode of his funeral, and it was really beautiful. Really moving. I am absolutely stunned. You could have given me a million guesses and I would not have guessed that was actually a reference to that.
Yeah.
That's
fucking
awesome.
hell.
I think that's the best answer you've ever gotten, Kasey.
That's amazing. I'm gonna get on Tumblr and yell about that for real. That's
what a
awesome.
small world, though.
What a small world. Because I knew you were American, so I was like, well, it's never going to be that. That's like this really weird niche British TV show. That's not. Yeah. I'm still stunned. I cannot believe that is a reference. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I love that. Although, of course, the 67 was to signal something about fandom.
Can't think what, though. When did they make that car again? I don't know. Sometime in the 70s.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So I came up with my pen name, Cal, because of Caledon Hockley in Titanic.
Aww.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters to hate but love.
Yes,
he's a mustache twirly villain. He's a really good one.
Yeah.
Very like old time, like silent movies. Like you can just see him. He's just uses it. Yeah. Yes.
Billy just did a knockout performance, but
gold
that
star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that character even though we hate him. So
yes. Love to hate him.
We love to hate him though.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he makes I'm not saying Titanic isn't watchable because I really like it, but he just elevates it.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And then Owens came from Bill Owen, who played Compo.
Aww.
Oh, that's so fucking cute.
So sweet.
Yep.
That is cute.
I love that so much.
Yeah, but that's the origin of those two things.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. I cannot believe it's a small world, y'all. I did not think I would meet anybody that would even remember Last of the Summer Wine now. Good Lord. Yeah. I gotta go look up clips on YouTube.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go do that soon.
Yeah. Alrighty, this is my last question. And again, dependent on how recent the episodes you listen to were, this may or may not be a secret. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it has absolutely nothing to do with fandom or writing or anything else. The secret question, Cal, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh my God, a T-Rex. T-Rex. She is the leading character of Jurassic Park.
She is. Yeah. She is. And she survives all of the movies, even the really bad ones.
Right? Yep.
Jurassic World.
I do like seeing when she comes back, even in the really like horrible ones. It's like, thank God, Like,
Yeah. And she has the moments where she's like Billy Badass and she roars to close out the movie.
Right. Yes.
Gold
exactly.
star.
With the banner draping. Oh, just love it. Chef's kiss.
So good.
Yeah.
Were you excited? Did you know that question was coming?
No, not at all.
Oh. You are the first person that I've asked that question to that has immediately had an answer.
Oh yeah,
immediately.
Definitely. Like I had to.
Didn't know that because I've been asking it for long enough now that people go and listen to the recent interviews and they're like, I know what the question is going to be. But everyone else that I've asked that wasn't expecting it, I get this really great silence as they go, no one has asked me that since I was like 4. What? But like adults don't ask other adults what their favorite dinosaur is enough.
No, they don't. It's really sad.
And I'm on a one mortal mission to change that. So I'm going to keep asking adults what their favorite dinosaur is.
Yes, I think you should.
But that's great. You're just like the only person that's had an instant answer to that. I love that. And she is badass. I love that.
Yeah. I recently so I was in Denver, and anytime I go to any city, I love to see their museums. And of course, I went to the Science and Nature Museum in Denver, and they had an IMAX movie about T-Rex. And it was like, shut up and take my money. Like, I need to be in this. And then, towards like the middle of it, I'm like, this narrator sounds familiar. And then turns out it was Sam Neill, who is in Jurassic.
No way.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, T-Rex is just my favorite. Always has been since I was a kid. And I was a dinosaur kid.
Yeah.
I was a strange little dinosaur, Titanic, plague kid. Those were my 3 fixations.
It's uncomfortable how similar we were. I was also a dinosaur kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So
okay,
I've read this one fic where I think it was J2, but they're dinosaurs, and it's just it's a lovely little verse. I'll have to find it for you.
Is it by Ashtray Thief?
Yes.
Dino loves it. Yeah.
We had Ash on once.
Ash is the first person that Ash started this because we were talking about dinosaurs, and I was like, "What is your favorite dinosaur?" Like, adults don't ask other adults that. Ash started this whole thing off, and that verse is great. It's so fucking cute. They're all like so destined to be together. It's so
yeah, so cute.
Oh my
This is the last question about British TV I will ask you, I promise, because we've kept you like a hell of a long time longer than we said we would keep you.
You're okay. I have total time, so no worries.
Oh, that's so good. Yay. Did you watch the BBC show Walking with Dinosaurs?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
T-Rex owns the last fucking episode of that as well. She's so cool. And she kicks ass.
I do remember this. It was one of the shows about dinosaurs that I kept watching over and over again.
Yep. I'm nerdy enough that I own the DVD, even though it's very much outdated now in terms of paleontology and what we know. But I own the DVD, and my dad got me like the accompanying book, which is like this huge like encyclopedia.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave it to my eldest kid when he was in his dinosaur phase, and he wrecked it. And I went and found another copy, and when it came. And I opened it and I was like, this is my dinosaur book, fuck you guys. And he was like, is that for me? And I was like, no, you've already ruined one of these. This one is mine. Because I'm like normal and well adjusted.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it's spawned a whole bunch of like walking with various prehistoric creatures, but they weren't as good. Like that was the one that I fell in love with Liplorodon, like for real.
Yeah. Good feels about my childhood.
Yeah, the Cruel Seas episode was the bestest. I'm gonna go watch that now. My youngest kid is hardcore into dinosaurs. Maybe he'll watch it with me. Not now because it's like 9 p.m. UK time, but I'll find a child to watch this with.
You don't need a child to watch it. You can watch it by yourself.
I don't need a child to watch it. But if I watch it by myself, my child will appear next to me and go, what are you doing?
There you go. Yeah.
I was building Lego.
They will come.
No, I was building Lego earlier on, and he'd already asked me what it was, and I was like, it's Lego. And he went, is it for me? And I went, no, it's for me. And he just sidled up to me while I was building the Lego, and he was like, what is it? And I went, what do you think it is? And he went, it's a tree. And I was like, it is. And he went, is it for me? And I was like, no, we've already talked about this. It's my tree. Go away.
Yeah.
He was like, I wish I had a Lego set. And that was when my husband stepped in and went, you have a box of Lego. Go away.
Oh my gosh.
Disclaimer, I love my children. They have the fucking earth. I just like some shit for me. That's all. Nobody called child services. I love my children.
Oh my goodness. All
right,
I found those 2 fics, or the 3 fics, right?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So one would be Lexical's Dawnbringer verse.
Uh-huh.
The second one would be, it's called On the Dodge by Candlebeck.
Are you writing this down as well, Sandra?
Yes.
And that was Candlebeck?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And where is it? Oh, I just had it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to now. I lost the page. Yeah, okay, I'll get back to you with the third one.
Okay.
It was
okay.
Something About the End of the World.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. The last outpost of all that is. There we go. And that's by I can't pronounce this, Gekizetsu.
Okay.
But yeah, Gekiz like zebra, Et like Tom, Su.
Okay.
Su. Thank you.
Yeah, so those are my top 3.
Awesome.
That's awesome. They will go on the list of fandom classics that we are compiling. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
of
that.
course.
Thank you. All right, I'm done with my questions now. That's it. We round off with the dinosaur questions. Sandra,
Yeah,
you,
I loved this conversation. I'm so glad you took the time to just like answer all of our tangents and just go off with us on this great conversation. But before we like officially let you go, I just want to know if there was anything you maybe would like to leave words of wisdom for maybe any of our fanfic writer listeners, maybe if they are like, stepping back from writing, or if they're trying to find their inspiration, or just anything in general that like words of wisdom that maybe you could leave them with when it comes to writing, just in general.
Oh, there's a couple. I think one, it's good to surround yourself with other creative people. They don't necessarily have to be writers, but idea people, people that see inspiration, even if it's in the mundane. Like, surround yourself with those kind of people and you will be solid for the rest of, your time writing. So get good people to toss around ideas, to get inspiration from. Again, I'm going to do another shout out to Deb, because not only is she my beta, but she is just my person to toss ideas around with. And to me, that's been invaluable over the years. So good beta, good people, those I think are very important. I'd also say don't push yourself. I feel like I should have maybe back in the past taken more time and care instead of churning something out that I wasn't really happy with, the first time. So definitely take your time to write things. Don't feel like there's this pressure of, I got to have it out every Wednesday all the time at this certain time. So yeah, I mean, that helps some folks stay on task, but for me, it's just never worked. And it's always helped me to feel like, okay, no pressure.
Yeah.
So I think I'd also just recommend to folks, like, keep a notebook or keep your smartphone with an app and write in it. Write details that, that you notice that might be good details in a fic. I think one of the things that I've seen, and this is maybe a little silly, but, we gender a lot of our lives. There's women's clothing, there's men's clothing, there's cologne versus perfume and whatever else. But one of the things that really stuck out to me that I hadn't thought of was the way that we gender how we wrap ourselves in towels. Like, men will wrap themselves usually from the hips down, and women folk will wrap them around their chest, right? So it's just little things like that I think, if you notice, write it down, because it's likely that either folks haven't had that same idea, or maybe someone has and you can connect, about it. So just write down just little things. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
I love
but
that.
My towel thing is like an example of like, I hadn't noticed that before.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's great. This has been so wonderful, Cal. Thank you so much.
I've had the best time. Thank you so much for coming and spending an afternoon.
Yeah, I don't think we ever thought, like, we were like, they're not going to say yes. I was like, yeah, and I was like, oh my God, holy shit, Kasey.
Yeah. Message me immediately like, compo67 said yes. And I was like, fucking shut up. No way. I've had the best time talking to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been wonderful getting, and like, just so you know, I mean, and I know you hear this a lot, but what you leave for the fandom to discover is just so very important and precious. And I think that, you giving of yourself in this way has just been a gift that I think will just continue to, make people's lives happy, for whenever time they find it. And I think those are like little treasures that as a writer, you should be very proud of. And, that you're giving a lot back to people who just are wanting to find a little something to just get their minds off of their troubles or connect or feel like yes, or just love these characters in a way, that I think all of us that love this show and love this process appreciate from you. So just really thank you. Thank you for doing the thing and for not taking your stuff down. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
love that.
thank
love
you.
that.
I really appreciate that. It's, it's been a tough one this year in terms of being creative. I've pivoted my career into human resources and had so many classes from January to May. Then I got burned out just from writing anything. And then I passed my certification exam. I had to study a lot for that. So it's been a tough year, like just in terms of putting fic out. But it makes such a difference to hear, from folks that they've enjoyed my writing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And congratulations on doing the things, the changes and the evolutions and, figuring your, stuff out and getting outside of fanfic and figuring out next
real
steps,
life.
real life,
done.
but still good job. Like,
Absolutely
congratulations
well
on
done.
that. That's always, it's always needs a sticker in my book when you can get the real life stuff done too. Yes. No.
100%.
We totally appreciate it, but we'll let you go. Feel free to exit whenever you want. If you want me to kick you out, I will. I won't report you to Zoom, promise. But if you're good exiting out, then we just really appreciate it. We're going to do an outro after you leave. But thank you so much, Cal. We really do appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Kasey. It's been wonderful. I really appreciate your questions and just everything. So thank you again.
Absolutely.
Don't hesitate to reach out if you have an idea or a recommendation, like, hey, you should read this, you should watch this, maybe you want to write it. So,
thank you. And it's
really
open invitation from us. You want to talk about some stuff, you want to come back and chat, like supernatural, fic, work, anything, like come back and talk to us, please.
Yes, please. Yes. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Rest of the day.
You too. Okay. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. That was so fucking cool.
That was.
Oh my god! I was expecting to fan model a little bit, but like, oh my god, that was the fucking coolest. Also, I really feel like we're gonna need to start putting some of those questions on the thing because that was really like, come talk to us about writing. Cal, like, what do you think about this? So, what do you think about the ending and John Winchester and?
But again, I think I don't know, because sometimes I feel like that's just, it's an organic part of our conversation. Because I think we're at this point now where when we somehow get into a tangent, I think we both just know it just seems like a thing to ask, and it just, because if it's a question we've had for a while, especially like I said, when I think we get like a Sam lover or, a Wincest writer or like, just something along those lines. Is just some questions just feel like they're meant to be asked,
Like Mystery Spot wouldn't make sense to ask a Dean lover because they'd be like, I hated it, he died.
Well, not me.
You weirdo.
Yeah, I'm weirdo.
No, that's okay.
But no, I just,
sometimes it do be that way,
I like that he was kind of like willing to just, go along for the ride with us. So big thanks to Cal for taking so much time. This will be another long one, even if I do, edit some parts out. It's still going to be, I really want a lot of the conversation because it's just so good.
So good. Yeah. That was almost like 2 interviews. Cause that was almost like, let's talk about supernatural and then let's talk about writing. That was so fucking good. Endless thanks.
Yeah, just to be so gracious about it too. And just getting into the mindset of writing and thoughts about it. It's just I love these conversations. No matter if it's a newer writer or an older writer, you come across so many interesting takes that people have on writing itself, and just so much stuff. Like I said, I'm not necessarily like, a Wincest shipper, but Compo's writing is amazing.
It is so good. I'm like,
really want to just marinate in The Chicago verse is just beautiful. Like so much great stuff in that. It really is.
And it's just like there's, like I said, there's, you know, the Chicago verse, it's got that authenticity. And like, you know, all writing has authenticity to some degree, but there's, I don't know, it's just that like the secret ingredient is love.
The secret ingredient is the writer, you know, like, again, 'cause sometimes you don't have to give all of yourself in it, but it's the little bits and pieces that make you, that then if you can imbue that into a story, it just gives it that little extra, this feels real. It's special. And I mean, you know,
if you are a Wincest person and you haven't read anything of Carl's, like, where have you been? Did you get it yesterday?
But I mean, I think for some people, I think that's the case. And I want to bring that, you know, I want to bring this stuff to light because, I mean, Cal made a really good point that, you know, sometimes people are newer to the fandom and they don't necessarily know about a lot of the old guard, old school stuff. You know, if they're not looking that stuff up on AO3, if they're in the fandom a different way that might be more like Tumblr or social media, and they're not really using AO3 the way, you know, we use it, like, you know, like it's an archive. You search out. It's not just going to get spit at you. You know, like you have to kind of do some digging. You might not know about these things unless you are within a circle. You know, like I wouldn't have known if I hadn't, you know, been talking to you or talking to Dreamer about this great writer. So
but I would say, you know, if you do primarily stay in the hat space, I would still encourage you to give Palo Alto a go.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if the incest isn't an issue for you or one of your hard limits, it's the male thing that you're struggling with, but like, give Palo Alto a go. You know, oh my God, it's just, I mean, you could tell by the way Sandra absolutely raved about it, that even as someone who is not that big into Wincest, it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's just I can see parts of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's so vibrant, and it doesn't have to be a big description, but it's so, it's just like, it's alive in a way, you know? And I think that's a sign of a really good.
And I do think, like, I'd let Sandra go on Palo Alto because she was like foaming, and I was like, fucking hell, it's so good. But like, one of my favorite things about it is, you know, I'm always a big fan of seeing Sam and Dean making a life for themselves. And that, you know, like, Sam's at school and Dean comes to her and they're going to make it work, you know, and they're going to get out of the shackles of John's fucking obsessions. And man, just like, you know, if you like your Wincest classic, take a look at Chicago verse. Just oh my God, just bury yourself in it. But if you do prefer more het stuff, take a look at Palo Alto for real. Just and you know, like the photo op verse. I think
that's just like a standard, right? Like, that's just like, you know, it's like,
don't we all wish that we could just, you know, accidentally end up on a date with our favorite star? I mean, Sandra would faint. Sandra would. I would adopt my very, like, disgustingly British persona and just banter about it. I don't know that I'd be any better off than Sandra. I probably wouldn't faint into my fucking beer, but yeah, that's just, Kyle is amazing. He's got so many amazing verses and works, and you should just, like, we're fan modeling so fucking hard right now. Y'all don't even know, like, for real.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed in the least if you pick up any of his stories. I think it'll be just, it'll be worth it. And again, there's so much to choose from too.
There's a little bit for everybody, I think. Like we talked about, you know, if you like your Omegaverse stuff, that's there. If you like your sci-fi stuff, that's there. If you like your like, oh my God, what would it be like if I you know, got the number of my favorite actor, and you know, that's there. You know, you want a really immersive, like, universe, go to Chicagoverse. Yeah, something for everybody. Amazing. We should stop because we're fan modeling so fucking hard.
Yeah, and we've been recording a while. It's been a long day. So, but yeah,
it's been really all. Yeah.
It's been great though. It's been great. But yeah, let's wrap up this baby and say thank you for listening and let us know what you thought of the episode. You can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment. Join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website, idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Don't forget, you can support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes that we support in the description. So you have LGBTQ plus talking charities from me, you have mental health charities from Sandra, and the main causes that we are championing, highlighting, spotlighting, any other adjective that means to draw attention to, is World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. Both of these charities are on the ground working in the Ukraine to help those still affected by Russia's unlawful invasion of the Ukraine, and in Gaza, which is still in the crossfire of the war between Israel and Hamas. This is not political. It does not matter which side of these issues you stand on. We are coming from a purely humanitarian view here. There are people in the Ukraine and Gaza that are trapped, cut off from basic human rights like food, water, and shelter, and they're dying. They didn't ask for war, and we want to help the people risking their lives to help them. If you cannot or do not want to donate financially, that is absolutely fine. Just sharing the links around social media helps massively to keep these issues in the public eye and get people in need all the help that we can. So with that, we will say thank you so much to Carl for joining us in the back seat. Thank you for joining us in the back seat, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.